Hello and welcome to another episode of the Uncommon Energy Podcast. On this week's episode, we're going to be breaking down the results from the Atlanta Regional Championships, which took place this past weekend. We're going to take a look at the brand new Team Rocket cards, which were revealed. Handlock is back? Question mark. We're going to take a look at, we're going to do guess that flavor text, of course, everyone's favorite segment of the podcast every single week. And then we're going to wrap up this week by talking about this coming weekend's Monterrey Regional Championships taking place down in Mexico. We'll give our thoughts kind of on the format, just kind of the format in general as well. So even if you're not participating in Monterrey, which I imagine most people listening to this are not, if you're going to League Cups, whatever it may be, we'll kind of just give our thoughts on the state of the format moving forward into the next European regionals, into the Milwaukee Regional Championships coming up as well. And then, of course, we will have our weekly bonus episode exclusive to our YouTube channel members and Spotify subscribers. My name is Chip Ritchie, and I'm joined here, as always, by my friend and co host, Azul GG. What's up, Azul? How we doing, buddy? How was your week?
It was pretty good. A lot of streaming, specifically over the weekend. Restreamed the Atlanta Regional Championships, which was a ton of fun. Hit some new. Always I didn't hit a. I had probably hit a new record on my YouTube for live viewers. I had like 3,500 plus on YouTube, and then Twitch we were over 1,200 as we
That's
got
great,
towards the
dude.
finals. I think it went down a little bit in the finals. Like throughout Top Cut, it was like around 1,200 plus, and it went down a little bit
By
in the
by
finals
the
specifically.
so yeah, it went down a little bit, like, by the, 30th Badoo attack in game 1, you think? Is that what it was?
Something like that. So, I think my record on Twitch is like 1,500 when I was in the finals of, one of the limitless qualifiers over COVID. Um, so it didn't quite break that, but yeah, the streams were really good. I didn't realize, and the thing is, like, these, like, were, like, basically on schedule for me. Like, it was, like, 9 a.m. and then 7:45 start time. I get up at 8 a.m. over here, so I had to wake up a little early for day 2, but, man, I was so tired. Yesterday. Like, I, like, woke up and I was like, I'm not doing anything today. I don't know why I'm so tired. I think maybe I pushed myself a little bit too hard over the weekend because, like, after I was done with the stream, I went to the gym after both streams immediately, and, like, that can be pretty tiring to, like, stream for I was like 8-hour streams into the gym. I usually go to the gym before I stream. Um, so I think I pushed myself a little bit too hard, and then I went to the gym in the morning on Monday. I was, like, halfway through my workout, and I was like, "Bro, I just can't. I'm just done for the day. I can't do anything." Like,
Yeah.
completely cooked. So, yeah, but it was good. Got Reshoot in Atlanta was fun. Um, I'm definitely glad it's kinda a little weird. Definitely glad I made the call to, like, cancel and do the restream instead because I did was not super felt super comfortable, like, especially, like, the week leading up to the tournament as far as, like I think about the game differently if I'm going to a major versus not going to the major. Because like, people would I had how many times I got asked the question as well, "What would you have played at Atlanta?" Is, like, a lot, and the answer is I just don't know because I just not thinking about the game that way at all leading up to
Yeah.
Atlanta. So I don't have an answer for what I would have played at Atlanta because that's not how I was thinking about the game at all. I was just playing decks and having fun playing Pokemon. But yeah, that was fun to reshoot Atlanta for sure. Yeah, the content's been going good. What about you, Chip? How was Atlanta over the weekend?
Yeah, Atlanta was cool, it was a lot of fun. What was supposed to be my easiest travel day of the year, like, the flight from Raleigh to Atlanta is an hour in, like, 5 minutes or something like that, turned into, sitting on the plane in Raleigh for 3 hours waiting to be allowed to take off because they had terrible thunderstorms,
Mm,
Thursday night in Atlanta, and because they had terrible thunderstorms Thursday night in Atlanta, everyone was landing at the same time from these delayed flights, and it created this, like, terrible bottleneck getting out of the terminals into baggage claim. It took 45 minutes to be paired with an Uber, and then it took 30 minutes for my Uber driver to get there. It was terrible, man. It was
yeah.
actually miserable, and this was all happening at, like, 1 AM as well, like, whew, it was a rough night. Not super fun, but rest of the tournament made up for it. It was definitely a good showing. I really I like going to these, like, Southeast regionals because I get to see some people who, when I was, like, playing and competing, back several years ago, like, I get to see a lot of people who I met and, like, became friends with over the years that, like, don't necessarily travel to the tournaments, like, Sacramento and Vancouver and stuff like that. So it was cool to see some familiar faces from around the southeast. And yeah, I mean, it was the largest regional championships of all time. Once again, we're kind of used to saying that at this point. Um, and yeah, I had a lot of people come up and mention to me specifically the second channel, which was super cool, talking about the Evolution series. I talked to a couple separate VGC players who were like, "Oh yeah, I watched that Evolution series video." One guy was like, "Yeah, I went and bought the Charizard deck after that, and then realized like this isn't super good in the meta, is it?" And and is like kind of like he plays VG, but he's like been playing TCG. It sounded like and stuff too. So that's pretty cool to hear.
Did you tell him that the Dragapult one is coming out soon?
I
And that one
did.
probably will be pretty good.
I did tell him, and he knew about it. But yeah, other than that, it's kind of normal stuff. I actually this last since I came home from Atlanta, I guess just Sunday or Monday during the day, like I spent the last like yesterday evening and spent some time today trying to like tackle the problem that has become my unorganized cards of like bulk slash playable cards that I've like been collecting for retro decks and stuff that is just amassed into this unorganized boxes and boxes of cards. I finally like tackled that a little bit. I've got trying to get stuff organized back here. My desk is like in piles still, but organized piles. So like we're making progress. I heard someone once say you have to like take over your bulk, otherwise your bulk will take over you, and that is like I'm living in that right now, you know. So we're trying to get on top of it.
Yeah, I've been there before, but once I got it all set, I've never let it kind of reclaim
Yeah.
any space on my desk. I've kept it at bay.
See, that's the problem is, like, I've been there before, but that was, like, 2 years ago, you know, and, like, the last 2 years, I've just been because like, when I go to, regionals, one of my favorite things to do is to, like, pop by all the vendors, flip through the binders, look through any bulk boxes and stuff like that, and pull some cards out that, like, are older playables, and stuff like that, and so I just continue to acquire cards to use for, like, old decks and stuff, and, um yeah, just gotta get it under control, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I'll take that first step. Um, oh, one more thing that I think we should probably mention. We mentioned, yeah, Monterrey is this weekend, but there's also the I knew there was something and I forgot to forgot about it, but there's the Malaysia Master Ball League,
Oh,
which
very
I think
cool.
is this might be I don't know if it's like their final big tournament of the year, but maybe second to final big tournament of the year or something.
Like the
Um,
last one before, like, the national tournament.
yeah, yeah. And it should these are almost always streamed. Monterey probably won't have a stream, but for anyone who's interested in watching what's going on in Malaysia, it'll probably be over on Pokemon Asia ENG on YouTube.
Are you
That's
gonna
where they like to hold those.
rebroadcast it, you think?
I'll be away this weekend, so no, I
Mm.
won't. But there is one happening the weekend after. There's going to be. We'll see if I can pull this off. But there's going to be the special event in Spain, not this weekend, but next weekend, as well as the Philippines Master Ball League. So I don't know the exact start time for the one in the Philippines, but it might be something like because I know the one in Spain is going to start like at 2 or 3 a.m. for me. So it might be like get up at 2 or 3 a.m., stream Spain, take a nap, wake up 'cause I feel like the Philippine stuff for me usually starts later in the evening, or not the Philippine stuff, but stuff in Asia usually happens for me, like, around, like, 8 p.m.-ish. So, that might be an interesting weekend for me. We'll see if I stream it all.
That would be crazy.
I'll definitely be streaming Spain for sure, but might try and also get the Philippines Master Ball League in there as well.
Shout outs to my boy Wancho, who's currently, like, 2nd place in the Philippines rankings,
Yeah, I saw his tweet earlier.
and his partner Ira is 4th as well. It would be super dope for both of them to
I think they get,
qualify.
like, 4 in they get, like,
Top
4 invites or something, right?
top 8 qualifies. Top
Top 8,
8.
okay, okay. But the nationals is, like, a huge influx of points, or their big tournament at the end of the year, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Um, that's gonna be do they have any auto invites, or is it all point based?
I think it's all point based. I think it's
Yeah.
all point based. He answered some questions people asked on here, and he's talked to me about it before. But oh yeah, I think he said here maybe top two Nats gets a stipend, so like a travel
Okay.
award
Yeah, I
or
always like
travel
to
stipend or something to Worlds.
I don't like to say this for the idea of how good we have it, because I always think that's like I hate when people are be like, "Oh, it could be so much worse," right? But over in Asia, they have it terrible compared to the system we have, and I say that with the idea that hopefully their system gets better eventually, because it's just like even in Japan, it's pretty horrendous, like compared to what we have. Like what we know what's possible because we have it. So it'd really be nice to see uh Asia kind of just have a similar system to what TPCI has, even if we're not connected in some way, just because it just seems so bad over there in comparison. Like best of one, the ways to qualify for worlds are super not very many, like far and few between. So hopefully we see some change over there eventually. And then I did want to give a shout out to uh for all the dates for all these. If anyone's interested in the dates for these tournaments happening in Asia, they're all on PokeStats. So ptcgstats.com. And shout out specifically to Cash, who I think is the one who is like getting all that information up and available over there. Because I actually just learned that all these dates are over there just like a couple weeks ago. I was like, oh, now I can like keep up with this and actually like plan around potentially restreaming some of these events. Because what would usually happen is some of them would come into my chat the day it's happening, be like, Azul, you can restream this in like 2 hours. It's like, well, probably not because I didn't plan on it. But now this will help me kind of plan a little bit ahead of time to potentially restream some of these. I'm excited for that. Get some more Pokemon action.
Yeah, I actually think maybe the Master Ball League is their like national tournament. So like this
Is
might
that the
be
final
like,
one?
yeah, it might be Malaysia. Yeah, there's not a Malaysia anything down here. Yeah, and then like in June there's Taiwan's Master Ball
Or in
League,
April?
Singapore Master Ball League. Like I think this is like it.
Oh, this is the big one then coming up. All right.
That's pretty hype.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lots of Pokemon tournaments
So
around.
like I said, the
Look at this
streams.
weekend in April, dude. And then because it's
Yeah.
that, and then there's also the SPE in South Africa too.
Yeah, there's a major tournament. I think I looked at it earlier this week. There's a major tournament every single weekend except for the weekend before NAIC. I believe that's the only. And then there's 2 months between NAIC and Worlds, of course. But I think the only tournament that actually hasn't been announced that actually we don't know about is the Japan Championships. I don't see it on here. I haven't seen it anywhere. So I think that information is just not out there yet.
Yeah, Aichi Champions League in May, but that's the last Japanese tournament listed here, and that'll be with the Team Rocket cards legal.
Yep. Yep. So that's actually coming up. That's 2 weeks away. We get to
It's
see
the
what the Team
week
Rockets cards
of
can do.
Milwaukee. Wait, what are you gonna stream, bro? What are you gonna
Both.
stream? Milwaukee
Gonna do
Regionals
both.
or Aichi? You're gonna be awake for 48 hours.
Well, no, Milwaukee's like I'll wake up at like 8 a.m. Milwaukee starts, and then I
No,
go
no,
into Champions League.
it would be Champions League first,
Champions
right?
League.
Champions League will be like Friday night.
No, no, no. Well, that's if they stream day one.
Oh, true. I forgot
But day one,
they didn't do that.
but
Yeah.
day one is usually super short, anyways. Like day ones are ending at like 10 p.m., 11 p.m. my time, so I'd be able to like get a full night of sleep before Milwaukee. But it would be like Milwaukee day one into Champions League day two because Champions League starts at 5 p.m. my time.
Yeah.
Um, so that would be another interesting weekend. A lot of Pokemon going down.
Dude, what a sick time. I kind of the more that we've had it, I've kind of liked the mid-season rotation. That's kind of like become the norm because it kind of like breathes new life into the game right at the end of the season and gets people like excited about it. And then obviously people get excited about it like during Worlds and then at the start of the new season. So I don't know. I've kind of I think from like posterity's sake, I did used to like as someone who like enjoys building retro decks, I did like the final Worlds format kind of being the culmination of the year, right?
Yeah.
But then I understand the perspective of like, oh yeah, all these things happen at Worlds, and then the rotation happens right after Worlds, and so like anyone who tunes in and watches Worlds, it's like they're playing a totally different format from what they just watched, right? Like starts getting interested in the game, so it can be a little confusing.
This is definitely like the healthiest for the growth of the game. This is the healthiest format to have, where it's like Worlds happens, but then that format kind of continues for a little while. Then rotation happens a couple months later. The novelty of the idea of rotation happening immediately after Worlds, I like the idea of it. But
Yeah,
like if we want to make the game, put the game in a spot where it's like getting newer players into the game is as easy as possible, because a lot of people get into the game because of Worlds, because of these big IC events as well.
yep,
So people just watching these big events gets people into the game. So and Worlds is the biggest event of the year, so we want people to be like, "Oh, I saw that deck. Oh, I can play that deck. I'm gonna go pick up that deck and play that deck." Right?
yeah. So I get it. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think just from like a excitement and keeping things fresh standpoint, I've
Yeah.
like really come to like it a lot for sure. And it seems like I feel like that's like a sentiment shared by most, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. I think so for sure. I can think one thing for us as well though is and part of the maybe part of the reason it feels better for us than it has in the past because we're actually rotating when the game is supposed to rotate. Whereas
Sure.
previously we would be playing a fake format essentially, like a format that was not the game was not supposed to be played in. Um, and we just kind of had to make do with the cards we had available to us, which is like fine. It never ended up being that bad. I don't think there's any terrible formats because of that. But that's not the way the game was supposed to be played. So there's that to go with that as well. At least we got rotation on track. Got that on track.
All right.
Um,
Well, I think with that, let's just go ahead and jump into the results from the tournament this weekend in Atlanta. So Azul ended up not going. I was there casting, and it was the largest regional championships of all time. We're used to saying that.
Yep.
Actually, did you see this tweet from Chris Brown about like the largest TCG events?
Yeah, I did see that. That's pretty cool to see. We already had a couple in there in the top 10. We're gonna take over, to be honest. We are gonna be the top 10 for
Yeah.
sure. It'll be tough to crack the first place, that Vegas event, but besides that, we're making some moves.
Yeah, Magic Grand Prix in Vegas 2015, 7,500 players. It's like 3,000 more than the second place. Whew, that's going to be tough. But I mean, I
Yeah.
think we'll take the number 2 spot probably in the next 12 months if I had to guess. Like if not
Yeah.
maybe NAIC this year, and if it's not NAIC this year, it might be NAIC next year, you know.
Yeah, even EUIC next year, I think
Yeah.
could possibly take it for sure. Yeah, I mean, we'll take over pretty much this whole leaderboard eventually. The only thing that's gonna be tough is that first place there. Yes, 7,500 is a lot. Not just getting the people to show up, but like even finding the venue size, the venue space. And we see both of the top two are Vegas. I they got some pretty big venues in Vegas. They gotta have pretty big venues elsewhere, but I wonder if Vegas is like the most convenient for that kind of for having a tournament of that size or kind of just an event of that size.
And the final official numbers, I think, left Atlanta right at number 10. So it's now the second highest attended TCG tournament. It does include all three age divisions. Um, so not just masters numbers. Like we had less masters at this tournament than we did at NAIC or EUIC these 2 years, but still like across all divisions, yeah, number 10 on the board for just a regional championships, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that is just TCG as well. Like VGC is not mixed in that as well, right? So yeah, it is just
Right.
the TCG. Yeah. Yeah. So not bad. Making moves.
Well, let's take a look at the tournament. Let's start off by taking a look at the meta here from day one and day two of the event. And I think a little bit of a surprise to both of us.
Hold on. Do you want to do it through here or do you want to use labs?
Oh, true. Yeah, I mean, something we should talk about a little bit is this new function from Limitless. I think we mentioned it whenever Robin like posted about it a couple weeks ago for the first time, but this is kind of the first big tournament that has happened since Limitless Labs has
Yep.
become a thing. But yeah, it's a brand new tool that I mean, shout outs to Robin. I like without a doubt, dude. I will never stop glazing Robin Scholes for like what he does for the game, man. It's so sick. But adding this, I mean, we have this data, so it's super sick that he's like gone through and compiled things in a digestible way, basically just applying, I guess, what the system is on the Play Limitless platform, right? And putting it
Yeah.
to actual tournaments, seeing the meta breakdowns. You can break it down by variant. You can group the variants all together. So, like, it groups all the Archaludons right here, turned it off, and now you can see Poison Archaludon, regular Archaludon, the Dunsparce, Zoroark. Like, yeah, you can get super in depth with these things and see the win percentage from all these decks. And of course, the meta shares as well. So, I guess one interesting thing to note, and I don't know where the discrepancies come from, to be honest, I would be kind of curious on either end where they are, the numbers do like look slightly different. So
Yeah.
if we look at the statistics from the day one graphic in Atlanta, we see Dragapult was 16.1%, 433 players. But on Limitless Labs, it says it's 470 players. So adding about 40 people, a little under 40 people, for 17.6%. I wonder like what the discrepancy is here, you know?
Yeah. There's got to be. Yeah, it's got to be like either like on the official side of things, they're not counting like Dragapult Charizard in there, and maybe Charizard Dragapult's being
Mm,
counted in this or something like that. It's like one of the it's like something like that is like not being counted. I think I would probably trust Robin's data a little bit more overall I'm sure tries to be as updated as possible with what he categorizes as a certain deck because like he's not manually inputting this. He's like being like he's getting all the data I believe from RK9, and then it's just like if deck has X amount of card becomes X deck like visualized, right?
sure.
So I would probably trust Robin statics also because it's like post event, so maybe he's like seen some outliers and then kind of adjusted for it as well. So I'd say this is probably a little bit more accurate than what was happening live during the event, but it's still pretty close. I think the numbers are just kind of inflated a little bit more like there's more Golden Goat, there's more Dragapult. I guess the Terrapagos decks, Terrapagos Noctowl and Terrabox are about the same though. If you go back over there, are they both like 10% on the official graphic?
Yeah, they are. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
okay.
right at the same.
And then Raging Bolt, there's a little more Raging Bolt. I guess there's a little bit less Archaludon though, which is interesting. There's 8.3% Archaludon here. There's only 7.6.
Yeah, so when they first gave us this data day one, they had our Chaladon broken up by um like they just had regular Archaludon, which would have been like Archaludon, the Dunsparce, Archaludon Hopstubble, and then they had Poison Archaludon as a separate thing. And we had them combine it just for like the sake of this graphic.
Yeah. I think that
Um
makes sense as well.
yeah, we didn't have them combined because they did have two separate things for Golden Go EX, and then there was a separate one for Golden Go Dragapult. Because I think, like, I don't know, the poison package our child on it, like, kinda feels like a little bit more like just like a secondary engines, almost support engine, but not really support engine, you know what I mean? Like, difference, whereas, like, Golden Go and then Golden Go Dragapult kinda feel like just 2 different decks. I don't know.
I think categorizing them all probably together would make the most sense because it's still Golden Go. It's just kind of like what you're pairing it with. It's like it's still our
Yeah.
Chaladon. It's just kind of what you're pairing it with. I think you guys being able to like break it down further past that would be cool, of course. But
For the
um,
generalized graphic, it probably just makes sense for it to be
yeah,
as general as possible.
yeah. I think with a generalized graphic, keep it as general as possible. I don't think anyone is assuming that the Golden Goes are like split up or anything like that. So that's maybe where that percentage comes from when we look over at the breakdown here on labs. But yeah, Dragapult was the most popular deck. I think that's what we predicted. I
Yep.
think most people honestly, it did feel like a little bit like whenever I talk about that in my on my stream, it seemed like some people were kind of resistant to the fact that Dragapult was the best deck or was going to be the most popular. So just kind of get like as far as like the community sentiment, I don't think it was like actually like universally um agreed upon. But yeah, to us, it was no surprise that it was number one. Um and that it was yeah, played by a lot of really good players. But Golden Go, I think, was a surprise. Definitely a surprise to me.
It was a surprise to
Um,
me too, for sure. I mean, I think we both knew it was gonna be, like, still played, but
yeah,
number 2, man, like, where does that come from?
yeah. I feel like as we got closer to the tournament, if you had like, if I had like sat and thought about it, like, oh, it'll probably be like a 10% meta deck. It'll probably be, 8 to 10. It'll be up there with like in the top six. Because as we got closer to the tournament, I was seeing a lot of people playing Golden Go, talking about Golden Go. I was playing a lot of Golden Go. But yeah, it being the second most played deck at that 14% was definitely a surprise. Not a shock, but like, yeah, it's a lot more Golden Go than I thought there was gonna be for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And then Raging Bolt does end up being pretty popular as well at that 3rd spot, um, with a couple of the Noctowl engine decks right behind. I mean, I guess Raging Bolt is a Noctowl engine deck most of the
Yeah.
time as well anyway. Terrapagos, Noctowl, and Terrorbox following that up.
Yeah, and then that was a surprise to me. The tank Terrapagos. Most of them were tank, I assume. I assume Terrapagos Noctowl does encompass some more decks. Like there was a build of Terrapagos Noctowl that got like second at the full grip tournament like 2 weeks ago or something. And that
Mhm.
one didn't have Bouffalants. So I think the majority of them did have Bouffalants, like Keaton Gill's build that he got top eight with
Yeah.
had Bouffalants. We see the builds here from Hunter, also Bouffalants. So I think most of them are tank Terrapagos, but I think some Terrapagos Noctowl decks that fall in this category won't have Bouffalants, probably, but most of them do, I assume. But yeah, this was another deck that I feel like was kind of picking up a little bit of steam leading into the weekend, the 2 weeks before. But I was definitely surprised that it was 10%. I was like, this felt like a 6, 7% meta deck. Um, I wouldn't have been surprised to see it be less than that. But yeah, I was not expecting 10% Tank Terrapagos.
Yeah, and it ends up being more popular than Terrabox, which coming into the format, I think most people thought Terrabox was like going to be the bet. Like this was the deck, coming into the
Yeah.
format, and it really fell off super hard, really fast. To be honest, I mean, none even finished in the top 32. Look at this.
Yeah. I said this about Terrabox. Like people were asking about. I got so many questions asked about Terrabox. Terrabox is a deck that is. It's not the meta. It is a product of the meta. Dragapult is the meta. Gardevoir is the meta. This deck is played because of the other decks that are super popular and played. So I'm not surprised to see it not perform super well in Atlanta. Um, I would have expected a little bit better for sure. But I guess when you take a look at how things were developing, like all the Dragon Ball players playing on Sam. Sam's pretty good against Terrabox.
Yeah.
You have Tank Terrapagos, really good matchup against Terrabox, like becoming a 10% meta deck. Like all these things kind of adding up, I feel like kind of pushed Terrabox. It's not a bad deck. It's a good deck. The meta is kind of shifting away from where it needs to be for this thing to be a top contender, like it was at a Champions League ago, not the most recent Champions League, but the one before that, where we saw Tord playing it and having a ton of success in Top Cut. So I expect it to. I guess we'll talk about that more a little bit later, but I don't think it's sticking around for very long.
And then we've got our Chaladon in here. A lot of these are the poison package. Our Chaladon, your favorite, I know, Azul. Were you happy to see two of them in top 16?
Well, Preston's build I actually really like. I played with some of this on my stream today. It's got the trolley build. It's less focused around going first and trying to get a turn one Petron attack. You go second, and then you look for a Badoo or Petron attack still. But yeah, it's a little bit more controlled. I definitely like this style of the deck a lot more. Um, I'm not surprised to see it succeed. I mean, I even said like if Poison Archaludon won the tournament, I wouldn't be surprised. But no matter how much I dislike the poison package, it's still solid, and it's definitely a solid way to play Archaludon. Might even still be the best way to play Archaludon. I'm just not super high on Archaludon in general, but
Isaiah Cheville, who got 12th place, said that his deck was terrible, I'm pretty sure, throughout most of the weekend. Said he was not having a good time and did not think his deck was very good. But, I mean, he got 12th place, so it can't be terrible.
yeah, he,
like,
he got up there. We saw him on stream.
yeah.
As well at some point. I think he played pretty good overall. I know he said he was disappointed in his stream performance in one of his tweets post match, but he definitely made a misplay at the end of the was it game 3, whatever game ended it all. But
And what's so sick about this, too, is like, so normally on Limitless, we just see the day 2 results from these decks, but now we can see literally everyone who played these decks as well. So, like, if you
yeah,
have a favorite player who didn't make day 2, right, which happens sometimes, right? Every player is gonna miss day 2 at some point in, a season. You can still see what they decided to play.
yeah. And this information is all available on RK9, but it is so much more digestible
Yeah.
in the format that Robin has laid out for us here on Labs. So
And we haven't even talked about this yet. You get to see the matchup data. This is like so sick being able to
yeah,
see like at the tournament what these decks were able to be really strong against and what they struggled against. And I saw literally today on Twitter, someone was like, or yesterday, someone was like, "Hey, can you add a filter so we can see like just the day 2 matches?" And he was like, "Yeah, sure." And he added it like right away.
and I think that is pretty important because the level of play is going to be a lot higher in day 2 than day 1, so it
It
gives
is
you a
a
more accurate representation. Of course, the sample size will be
yeah.
smaller, so that's like the other thing you need to take into account. Like Flareon Noctowl apparently is 100-0 against Archaludon, but there's a 2-game sample size. You might want to dig a little bit further into that one if that's a matchup you care about. Don't take everything at face value, but you get up there, you got the 45% win rate against the Dragapult. You can probably work off that a little bit better. Slightly unfavored matchup.
And I did see Robin talking about this, but it would be really cool, like, to be able to have this data compiled by format, right? So like the
Yeah.
next tournament, we get this data again, and then now you get to see like through the course of the format what these
Uh,
matchups have looked like.
Yeah, add a format filter as
Yeah,
well. Yeah, yeah. I mean, we'll see if he has. I'm sure he
or
will
like a
add that at some
tab
point. Yeah. Really.
for sure.
Yeah.
And then yeah, I mean, continuing down there, we could talk about like all these decks, but I think the last one to like really spend time on before we kind of like
Yeah.
get into like maybe some specific lists or whatever, some interesting things, is Gardevoir. Picked up a lot of steam, it seemed like in the last couple weeks, and it was like chosen to be played by like I mean, look at the names here, like so many of the like top tier players, not just like in North America, but like also in the game. Like we see Matthew Burris and Brent Tonneson coming up from Australia choosing to play Gardevoir. It was just a popular choice among very good players. And of
Yeah.
course, Henry did win the event with it as well.
Yeah, definitely was picking up steam leading into the tournament. I think people were rediscovering how good Gardevoir is, especially I think a part of that was probably Champions League happening. Although was that just a week ago or is it 2 weeks ago now? Man,
It was a week before.
was a week before, so maybe that didn't have as much influence. Although I feel like people were looking at those builds and maybe taking a little inspiration from them, as well, though. But yeah, it definitely felt like people were coming around. I mean, I put some time in with Gardevoir. My list was way different than everyone else was playing, and probably way worse. So don't copy my list. Copy these lists. But I was like, this is just good. Like, I don't know. I was like playing a build with like 2 TM Evo still or something. I was like, I don't know. This still feels pretty good. I'm beating basically everything on ladder with this thing. Gardevoir's kind of broken still. But yeah, we see I guess we could transition from that maybe to go over to the fact that Henry with the Zoroark build, Henry Chow, third regional win this season, all with Gardevoir. Does it again here in Atlanta, this time with a Zoroark build of Gardevoir. And I think props to the list, I think, given to Bradner. This is the list that a lot of really good players were playing. Comes from Isaiah Bradner. But yeah, Henry Chow taking it down once again, piloting it to another victory. Pretty insane season. I had this discussion on my with my chat. I don't think it's the best season ever. I think Tord still has that, but he's getting close. If he takes like another dub here, he's definitely in consideration for like one of the best seasons of all time for sure. Or he's already up there for one of the best seasons of all time, but he could be like a contender for the best season of all time.
Yeah, and I think what separates so, like, we talked about this a little bit on the stream. He's now the 4th player to have won 3 regionals in a season. The other 3 players, Igor Costa, Caleb Gedimer, Jimmy Pendarvis, all, some of the greats all time of the game, especially, yeah, at least Jimmy and Caleb from North America, some of the best in North America for sure at minimum. I think what kind of separates this run from Henry from those 3 runs is Igor, I think Igor did it, or maybe was it Jim? Which one did it first? I think Caleb did it in like the 2018 season, and then Igor and Jimmy's were both in the 2019 season, something like that.
I think
Um,
Caleb and Jimmy did it during the same season.
oh, okay, okay. So
But
Igor's was the one
Igor's was the
before.
one before, yeah.
That's what it was. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, regardless, like the difference there is that average tournament attendance at those events was like between 500 and 1,000 people.
Yeah, yeah. They're definitely quite a bit smaller.
This is like 2,000 plus player tournaments, and Henry has won 3 of them. That's crazy. That's like insane.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive, and I think you definitely rank it up against those runs because there was like the similar amount of wins. I mean, Caleb won. Well, Jimmy won 4 regionals that in during his run, and
Yeah.
then Igor and Caleb both got 3. Caleb also got a finals. Caleb almost had 4 alongside Jimmy that season. But I think the best season of all time is towards IC run where he won 2
Yeah.
ICs and got second at another IC. And despite more victories and despite those ICs back there being smaller, like someone kind of asked me that question in my chat. I think it makes sense for us to come together as a community and hold our ICs to a pretty high level of relevant of like how long ago they were. There was less players, but like still also like the
It was the highest level you could possibly be playing at the time,
yeah, you can't be playing at a higher level than what Tord was. Like he can't increase the ceiling for everyone else just because everyone else is like just because no more people aren't showing up to these tournaments, he's still winning them, right?
Yeah.
So I still definitely give like that Tord season the edge. But I don't know if Henry walks away with like an IC dub or a Worlds dub this season, we definitely have to definitely something to think about best season of all time potentially from Henry Chow here.
I think there's also a conversation to be had around like the consistency we're seeing from like a handful of players here,
Yeah.
right? Ryuki winning 2 majors, Hedrick getting a victory and then getting a finals placement like just not too far after. And then even if you step down to the seniors division, I know the level of competition in the seniors division is lower than masters, right? There's less high level players, but you do still see the same like 2 or 3 kids in the finals of like every single regional championships.
Well, yeah, Justin literally won this one,
Yeah.
right? Like
And that was
we
it's his 3rd of the year.
yeah, I mean, we mentioned them. Fernandez, Ostercats, and Justin have like separated themselves as seemingly like the best 3 seniors division players, like by far.
Yeah.
And that's what I like. The conversation came up when Hedrick and Henry were headed to the finals, and I think that they're definitely the best 2 players in North America. I don't think there's a question of that. probably top 5 in the world this season so far as well. Um, and that, I mean, that's like really cool to see. I think that's like a really cool. I always like to kind of push back against people when people talk about luck or lack of skill in the Pokemon TCG. If you take what people think are the best two American players, put them in a North American regional, and then they both make the finals, that has to speak to the ceiling in the Pokemon TCG. If they can consistently do that, if we see what Tord has consistently done, we know the skill ceiling in the Pokemon TCG is just super high. And blaming any of your tournament runs, your major tournament runs on any kind of luck, especially over like 2 or 3 majors, like you're just doing something wrong, right? Like, as we see these really great players consistently performing. Yeah, like you said, the consistency we've seen this season, even specifically, has been insane. So, um, yeah, there's definitely room for people to work harder and push their ceiling, push to their general ceiling as well. So it's like a point I like to make whenever we see these results.
Let's really quickly, while we're talking about Gardevoir still a little bit, talk about Orlando's top 8 list here. This is kind of, I think, more standard to what people were doing with Gardevoir heading
Yeah.
into the tournament, right? The Brilliant Blender, being able to discard your energies to, basically, this is like a more aggressive attacking version, it almost feels like. But there's still no TM Evo in here, right?
Yeah, I mean, the Arvin counts are low in every build because Arvin is pretty low value, especially when you're playing such a high Bravery Charm count. You're just going to naturally draw them through your resources than Iono. So, like, cherry picking them out of the deck is like less relevant. But still has
You
some Arvins to help find that blender at the very least because that's like a high impact card with only one vessel in the deck.
Yeah, still need to find it. But then, yeah, no surprise. I think based on, I mean, it was kind of getting tough at the end of the day. Like when we were talking about stream matches and stuff, it was like, man, it's just a lot of Dragapult for those
Yeah.
last 2 Swiss rounds, you know? Um, we did get to still see some cool decks. Like we saw Jonathan Means on the winning end with the Flareon EV
Yeah,
box deck, which was kind of sick.
definitely a cool
Um,
one. I was gonna
but
say,
oh yeah,
before
go
we
ahead.
switch over to looking at the Dragapults, we could look at the Gardevoir list from Brent Tonneson and Burris
Oh
was actually
sure.
pretty interesting if we want to just stay on the Gardevoir train for a little while. It's a little bit lower. There we go.
There we
Burris
go.
is right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is an interesting build. No Poffin. Uh, 4 research, 4 IO now. And yeah, it's like pretty straightforward. Secret box build. Obviously the 3 Bravery Charm, which is like what most people were playing. So I thought it was just like an interesting build. The Cleffa's in there as well, as like a alternate draw power card, and no Mew. That is maybe the biggest standout to me because Mew is very good against Dragapults. Maybe I wouldn't say necessary, but the plays we see people make with like using Mew to copy Dragapult's attack with Clefairy play to then KO Duskull's off the bench as well as KO the Dragapult, or use Monkey Dory to KO a Dracloak plus the Dragapult in the active is like really, really powerful to like swing that matchup from when like Dragapult gets a lead. So that was like and also it's like a way to draw cards, which this deck is definitely lacking. I mean, we saw the Zoroark in the build from Henry as a way to draw cards alongside the Mew in the Pheasantipede, right? So that's one thing. The one thing that Gardevoir is like missing the most is draw power. So we see that try to usually be made up from the Pheasantipede and the Mew. But in this build here, no Mew. And no Buddy Poffin as well. Although I kind of understand the Buddy Poffin. You don't need to rush your Ralts into play. You get one down, you're feeling safe in a lot of situations. I mean, there's still 4 Nest Ball, 4 Ultra Ball, and the Artisan. So you're not like hurting for Pokemon search, and you don't need to rush Ralts into play the way you used to or want to.
It's not
And
your draw engine anymore,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know?
So like finding the Monkey Dories, the Pheasantipede, those other Pokemon is more important now for sure.
Yeah,
Like,
definitely. I think Poffin makes more sense if you are playing like a support line with your
yep,
Gardevoir, right? Like the Zork, we've seen there was some Revavroom stuff happening, and some the
Dunsparce.
Dunsparce was like another popular choice too, it seemed like. But yeah, this is like, I think this is the more like honest build almost, right? It's just like, we got our 4 supporters, and that's how we're drawing cards this game.
Yeah,
We get to do it
definitely.
once per turn.
Yep. No double, triple refinement plus a concealed cards. But yeah, let's go. Let's take a look at some of these Dragapults. And I guess we could start with second place list. I mean, there's not gonna be too much to talk about because it's Dragapult Dusknoir. It's back for another format, dominating tournaments. I think it'd be fair to say Dragapult dominated this tournament overall, despite Guardy getting the win. 5
Yeah.
Dragapults in cut. Some of the other lists a little bit more interesting, but this This feels pretty not like 100%, like, none of these cards are a huge surprise, maybe besides the Luxurious Cape. I feel like that's the standout card here in this build from Hedrick.
Yeah, I had to do a double take when I was walking around early in the day, and I walked past one of Hedrick's games and saw a Badoo with a luxurious cape on. I was like, "Is that hold up. Our Badoo's worth 2 prizes now. Is that really good?" And it turns out it is pretty good. Not because it's worth 2 prizes, but just because it doesn't go down super easily while you're, like, controlling the pace of the game.
Yeah, we saw a lot of Bravery Charms on Badoo's. Hedrick decided to one-up them, give his
Yeah.
Badoo a Luxurious Cape, but there's a lot of other uses for not just the Bravery Charm, but the Luxurious Cape as well to protect your Dreepies, your Drakloaks, your Duskulls, your Dusclops, keeping it giving all that stuff a little bit higher HP to play around stuff like, the Water Pond Snipes, and then even spread damage in the mirror match up against other Dragapults, so
It's
there's a lot of
also
use
good
cases.
good against Gardevoir to protect your guys, like, against double Monkey Dory plays as well. Yeah, there's lots of, I think, reasons to go with the luxury escape. And you can see this list. I mean, this is one of those kind of things where it's like, wow, yeah, a lot of good people decided to play this list. And I think a lot of credit for this list went to Justin Templar, who ended up winning in seniors with it as well.
This is not the first list that has won in or done like been like this that Justin has influenced the Masters division with, is it?
No.
Yeah. I
I
wonder if
think
he's
I
gonna
think Hedrick credited Justin for his regional winning list in Vancouver.
I wonder if Justin's gonna keep stuff more low key when he gets to Masters, or if he's gonna be
Yeah.
as open with it. It'll be interesting to see because I think he's a master next year. So yeah, obviously he's been absolutely killing it in the seniors division.
Yeah, it's pretty wild, man. Yeah, he this was his 8th regional win, and 3rd this season. And it feels like there's kinda like one of those kids every year, who it's like their last year in master. They've, like, reached their full form, and they
Yeah.
just, like, win most of the tournaments.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch him play next season for sure. And, well, I mean, he's still got the rest of his senior season to kinda close out. I'm really yeah, I'm excited to kinda follow, like, at NAIC and Worlds, kind of the battle of, Vinny and or Gabrielle, excuse me, Gabrielle, Nathan, and Justin. Which one of them
Yep.
comes out on top? I gotta feel like it's gonna be one of the three at those two tournaments.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the only like I think the unknown for us is the senior division players from Asia. Like that's more of an unknown to us, but I
True.
feel like we have a pretty good read on uh everywhere else, right?
I
Outside of
mean,
Asia, it's tough to get the read though.
yeah, Seinosuke, the guy who got second place at Worlds this past year, he was a first year master from Japan,
Yeah.
right? So it's like they got great young players everywhere for sure.
Yeah. So that'll be like the thing that'll be potentially the bigger the potential upset for one of them. But yeah, I expect one of those three to take down. I think Fernandez winning NASC would just be kind of sick. Getting all three, that'd be kind of absurd.
The
But I
triple
expect
crown, the grand slam.
yeah.
Yeah, it's the triple crown if he wins NAIC, the grand slam if he wins
Wins
Worlds
worlds.
too. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if he's gonna be able to get both, but,
That would be crazy. That's
I
pretty
expect
tough.
I expect one of those 3 to definitely take down either one of those events or either of those events. It'll be one of the 3.
But yeah, other than that, I don't know that there's anything too crazy to call out here. Lower counts of Arvin, like you mentioned, it's just like a lot weaker now when you're expecting to get Badooed.
Yep,
And you don't have Forest Sealstone and Rotom, right? Jack taking the place kind of Lance. We did see some of the Slowpolt builds, which I guess we can go ahead and transition and talk about here. Um, It was I
I think
think
this
Karis was playing the
yep,
Brock Scouting, right?
yep,
Yeah, Brock Scouting making its way into a couple of decks.
and then we
Oh,
saw, Callie playing actually 2 Brock scouting. It almost seemed like Callie's build was, like, ahead of the meta a little bit. I think there was, like, multiple Jack and multiple Brock scouting, in there, and maybe also Fabrizio's build as well. Um, because you look at some of these other builds from yeah, there we go. Oh, no Jax, no Jax, just the Brock scouting. Okay, okay. Still has the 4 Arvin. So I think that's something we're gonna see adjust here from a lot of these lists. Is we're
yeah.
gonna see I think we're gonna see the Arvin counts come down and the Brock scouting and Jax builds go up a little bit. 1
Yeah,
Brock, 2 Jack, yeah.
yeah, this is what Fabrizio was rocking with. Still had the 4 Arvin, but yeah, we may see that. The value, yeah, I mean, Research is a card that has not really been played in Dragapult in the previous format, but even just having a couple of them, like, just that
Yeah.
little extra boost, just get a nice hand refresh going.
We do see the crystal here from Fabrizio, so that's a little bit more value there.
True, that's fair, yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, him playing the crystal makes a little bit more sense. Or
And the
the card
Defiance
makes more sense.
band too.
Yeah.
I guess that lets Dragapult like one hit KO the Ogre Pawns, right? Water Pawn or Grass Ogre Pawn, which I guess is a little bit less relevant.
I think the damage I don't know exactly where it always comes up. I think there's probably some late game Ursaluna stuff that can happen as well with, like, spread damage on, like, a bench Dragapult, maybe a bench like a Gardevoir cleanup or something. There's probably a lot of things you can do with it, but yeah, I'm not sure it's worth the inclusion, but we did see it a little bit if we go back up to the other Slowpults, and these are probably the bigger decks to kinda talk about from the Dragapults. We see it in here as well from Tanner's build. Slowpolt and yeah, no Dusknoir, has the Monkey Dory, has the Ursaluna, has the Halucha. A lot of people had Ursaluna. Basically, everyone had Ursaluna, which probably speaks a little bit to Wall's lack of success because the Ursaluna basically solves the Walls matchup for Dragapult, but it's also just a good attacker in general.
Yeah.
The big standout Pokemon here, of course, is that Genesect with the was
Dude,
it
you
the
are obsessed with
well, dude,
Genesect.
are you don't want to talk about this? All right, fine. Let's not talk about Genesect. Who
No,
cares?
we obviously should. It's just funny. There's two cards in the standard format you're obsessed with.
Genesect is so sick, man.
Genesect and Trolley, dude. You are obsessed with
Trolley is
Trolley.
so sick. Trolley for the Genesect, bro. Trolley for Genesect. But yeah, the Genesect, when it has a tool card attached to it, your opponent cannot play an ace spec. So specifically, really, really good against Golden Go. I think it's like the main one. It's like, oh, that's just really, really good against Golden Go. But even then, Mirror Match, shutting down your opponent's Unfair Stamp or Crystal, stuff like that. It's just a powerful card. You got to play it in a deck that has extra tools for it. And you got to be able to go out of your way to get it before your opponent plays their ace spec, is like the big thing. But when Badoo's making things so slow, that usually gives you time to get around to get your Genesect involved.
In
Um,
something that can happen, it feels like at a high level, and we saw this in the finals, is like nobody kind of wants to take the initiative and like activate unfair stamp and counter catcher for the opponent, right?
yeah.
And so Genesect can allow you to take the initiative because you know you can't get unfair stamped, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think another call out for what Hedrick did with his build or the build that Hedrick played was the lack of artisan, not giving your opponent more Pokemon search while you're doing them and stuff like that. And we see like most of the other Dragon Ball lists playing the artisan. I think that might be something we see carry forward is like the people cutting artisan, um, kind of copying the build that Hedrick uh placed with here. And it because yeah, even in the Slowpoke builds, you don't really need artisan. You could just play more Pokemon search like nest balls or whatever. Or we could see more people play probably a higher Brox count would maybe be a replacement for some of those artisans. Not give your opponent access to that consistent Pokemon search while you're doing them. But that would open up a potentially interesting situation where neutralization zone could become like a sneaky play in the meta, which would be kind of cool to be honest. So
Bro, no
um,
leaks. You definitely just ruined someone's like secret deck for the next tournament.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if anyone's trying to go out of their way to play Artisan just to beat. But but if they rise up to the top,
We did see the neutralization zone on the stream with the
yeah.
Great Tusk Mill.
Dude, I was so hyped when we saw the mill on the stream. I was like, all
Yeah.
right, let's get it. It didn't. Yeah, it was a pretty disappointing result from the Great Tusk, unfortunately. But I was excited for it when we saw what was up on stream. Just never really got cooking.
Yeah,
Uh,
couldn't quite get it rolling there.
yeah,
Um, oh, I had one thing I was gonna say, but it has escaped me at the moment. So let's see if it comes back. But while we wait, we can look at the other deck in top eight that was not Dragapult or Gardevoir. We did have a Terapagos, a tank Terapagos, and this is a pretty interesting build. There's like a lot of pretty interesting things in here.
yeah. So the big standout, I think, as far as like the engine goes, is the Pidgeot. We got quick
Yeah.
search Pidgeot back in here. It is so Pidgeot took a main hit. Maybe some people are wondering why it was cut to begin with. Featherball, the the value of Featherball or how consistently Featherball could get you your Pidgeot without like sacrificing resources was like a really big deal. Now you have to like Ultra Ball for your Pidgeot, which does not feel good. We saw Keaton here making the sacrifice, going for it. Includes a Pidgeot, includes a Red Candy,
You got
or
another way to find it right
you
here,
do.
buddy. The
But
Cyrano.
if you're playing Cyrano, you're not playing Crispin, which is like your main way to get your Terapagos set up. But if you get that turn one attachment, you just draw into an energy, attach it to your Terapagos turn one, then turn two,
Yep.
you can make it work from there. And then the other big card to call out here is definitely that Volcanion EX, which for anyone who's not familiar with this card, its ability says while it's in the active, you can burn your opponent's active Pokemon. And that's it. That's all it's here for. And then you have Latias to retreat it into your Terapagos. So now you're hitting numbers like 260, which one it KOs Golden Go, or depending on what you're knocking out, you can just limit your bench. so that they get KO'd by burn, so their flip the script on their Pheasantipity doesn't trigger.
Yep.
So there's a lot of cool plays you can do with that, as well. So those are, like, the cool inclusions. I actually this build just looks kinda sick to me. That's definitely something I wanna try out.
Yeah, it's definitely a really cool build for sure. Terapagos is something I want to spend a little bit of time with too. I I don't really play nearly as much as I used to. But walking around, I don't know what it was, but like walking around the hall this weekend and just like watching games and like seeing people play, I just like kind of got a little bit of the bug and like the itch to to play some Pokemon that I haven't felt like in a long time. I don't know what it was. Um so
The
I'm
FOMO.
definitely gonna fire up live and give this deck a shot for sure.
Yeah, and then the last player in cut, it was a 9-person asymmetrical cut. Bodie Robinson, the Golden Go, the no BS Golden Go, literally just
It is just
Golden Go.
Golden Go.
Yeah, 4 Cypher Maniac, 12 basic energy count despite no partner Pokemon, no Dragapult, no Dunsparce, no Revavroom, no Zoroark, no Scizor. It's Golden Go. I like to see the baby Golden Go there. I'm a huge fan of the baby Golden Go. I think it fixes so many, like situations that come up pretty consistently in matches. Just having the one prize attacker is just really, really good. And you see, like, yeah, he literally 2 boss and the counter catcher and the iron bundle, all the gust effects, super rod and 2 night stretcher. Like, just literally all the lines of everything that you like normally play in the deck is just beefed up a little bit, right? 4 Cypher Maniac, 2 TM Evo, Pokegears to try and get off that turn one Arvin TM Evo combo. Does have the jamming tower in there, which as far as like tech conclusions go, that's probably the techiest card in the deck. But yeah, no BS Golden Go here. Just trying to keep it as simple as possible.
Yeah, definitely a cool build. And then as we get down past the top cut, so Bodhi was the person who lost in the asymmetrical cut, so we had 9 players. There are some pretty interesting decks here still. So we mentioned the Poison Archaludons from Isaiah Chevelle, Preston Rutledge. We've got Grant Manley on Golden Go Dragapult. He called this dehydrated dingo because he does not have any water energy in the deck. But yeah, this is a pretty interesting one as well.
Yeah, and we've seen this decent amount from over in Japan. I think this is the first time we've really seen it rise to the top here in uh outside of Japan. I'm trying to like think if there's been another tournament where we've seen like a Dango Dragapult have a solid placing, but I think this might be the first time it's
Yeah,
kind of, I mean, a top 16 actually might be the highest placement that we've seen at any event from TPCI.
yeah, I think so. There's a couple interesting things to point out here. The vengeful punch, kind of interesting. I think it's like a way to counteract the Pikachu EX from Terrabox. So you can break that Resolute Heart ability. We actually saw on stream Connor Fenton was playing a Rocky Helmet in his Dingo build, and I think it's for the same reason, a way that you can kind of mitigate that Pikachu EX, which otherwise like could be a pretty big problem for the deck, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's like another thing that we saw not in Bodhi's list. No tech tool for the Pikachu. Just keeping it as straightforward as possible still. But yeah, they got the vengeful punch in there. Um,
I think the one Pokegear is so funny.
That's the card that I have found with Golden Go. I try and increase as much as possible. Whenever I have a free spot, it goes to Pokegear in my Golden Go builds because finding Termin Arvin is just so important. Like the games are like night and day different if you have Termin Arvin or don't. So, like I'm trying to get all my Golden Go builds. I'm like trying to get up to 2 TM Evo, and then basically whenever I find space for a Pokegear, it just put the Pokegear in there.
We'll talk a little bit more about like the meta moving forward and stuff, but I have a feeling Golden Go is going to have a hard time in the world of Gardevoir and Dragapult heavy Badoo. Like Golden Go hates playing against Badoo.
Well, I think Gardevoir is tough for other reasons. Honestly, the Badoo, I think Golden Go has solved its Badoo problems though. I think we saw that last format, right? When we saw Golden Go kind of become a top meta deck. Um, so I think Gardevoir is going to be the bigger thing, especially if we see people going back to Drifloon. Then all of a sudden the prize trade, like the Golden Go up against Gardevoir if they don't have Drifloon or Heavy Bravery Charm is like pretty close. Now Gardevoir has become a way less consistent of a deck than what it used to be. Also, Jamming Tower is a tool to pretty easily slot into Golden Go. So I'd say that as well. So I think that's kind of the big question mark for me about Golden Go. Is just like that matchup, but there's a lot
Sure.
of ways to play Golden Go as well. You have a lot of options, right? We saw what Bodie was doing. We saw what Grant was doing. Hopefully, we never see the Dunsparce in a Golden Go performing well because that would be a miracle. But there's other stuff like Zoroark or Red Room has other potential draw engines, and then even alternate attackers like Caesar are like okay.
And I think probably one of the last ones to talk about here, unless you have something further down you want to mention, is the Flareon build from Jonathan Means. What are your thoughts kind of on this deck?
But I love the idea. I need to put some time in with this deck. I'm probably just gonna copy Jonathan 60 to be honest to play some games with. But the comeback potential through the Sylveon is pretty crazy. We've seen it. I've seen it now in Champions League happen. Although that one did end in a double game loss because yeah, they don't have ties in Japan. And then this one here from Jonathan. I think Jonathan got a little too comfortable in game number two. Started to play a little sloppy. Definitely could have played a little bit better. Could have left some bigger options open. I think the biggest mistake was putting double Hoot Hoot on the bench and not leaving a bench space open to work with. Um, but yeah, I think there's a lot here with this deck, to be honest. I guess like, yeah, like its Dragapult matchup definitely seems good. It's pretty good to have a pretty good Dragapult matchup. And then from there is kind of the question mark for me is like, what else is this thing actually good against? I think you got a good Golden Go matchup. But yeah, this deck is definitely very, very sick. I'm a huge fan of it. And if someone's looking for something new and different, I mean, I don't think you have to look much further than this deck. And I think actually the big standout card that Jonathan brought that a lot, not a lot of other people brought was the Unfair Stamp. Crystal is super powerful in this deck. But Unfair Stamp is also just a really, really powerful deck. And I've found that Unfair Stamp, it just feels insanely good in Noctowl decks. Like just being able to two-draw it out of your deck so consistently, so aggressively, or having that potential option is just so powerful. So I don't know what that's like was what he came to is just like how quickly he can just use it with the Noctowl. Didn't feel like he needed the Crystal as much, but Crystal has been like the go-to ace spec in here. So I was surprised to see the Unfair Stamp for sure.
Well, those are some of the interesting decks and kind of the top end results from Atlanta. Definitely some interesting developments, and we'll spend time at the end of the show here kind of talking about moving forward. Let's recap what our predictions were for the tournament. First prediction was what would the three most popular day one decks be? You predicted Dragapult, Terrabox, Raging Bolt. I said Dragapult, Raging Bolt, Terrabox. And the reality was Dragapult, Golden Go, Raging Bolts.
So we're both wrong. Did not expect the Go to be that popular, but it did show up.
Yeah. Yeah. But we were both kind of on the same page of like, yeah, Raging Bolt is going to end up being a pretty popular call for the tournament or popular
Yeah,
meta deck. But I mean, if you flip from overall to day two, Raging Bolt falls off pretty hard, which
yeah,
is on brand, right? Dude, did you the funniest tweet of
yeah.
the weekend? Did you see the they had like a coloring area for kids and stuff at the tournament? And someone tweeted, I found the Raging Bolt player meetup, and it was a picture of the banner that said coloring area. It
I
was
did
so
not see that
good.
one. That is very funny. That is
Oh
good.
man. I'm surprised it had like 1,000 likes when I saw it, dude. It's so funny. It's crazy to me how big like TCG memes are nowadays. Like not just like about like collecting or like just about the cards. It's like about actually playing the game that we've gotten to the point where it's like these memes are like getting, tens of thousands of views on Twitter. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, Pokemon Twitter is definitely popping off quite a bit for sure.
Next
But
up
yeah,
we
that's a
uh,
good one.
next up we did pick a player to make top cut. Azul went with Isaiah Bradner and I went with Caleb Rogerson, and we were both wrong, but they both played the same 60 as the two players in the finals. So
Yeah.
we
We were
get a
on the
little
right
something
track. We're
there.
on the right track.
We
We know
picked
the
the
players with good connections. They're in. They're on the in.
yeah.
Um, so
Isaiah did finish higher than Caleb, I'm pretty sure. So we'll give you the edge there. And also Isaiah played the same 60 as Henry, who ended up winning. Caleb played the same 60 as Andrew, who got second. So I guess you just went all around on that one. And then finally, highest placing poison package. Man, Azul was really hating on the Archaladon here. He predicted that it would be top 64 and that it would be Roaring Moon. It wouldn't even be Archaladon. I knew it would be Archaladon, but I also wasn't quite as much of a believer as maybe I should have been. I said the top 64, and the reality was there was two in the top 16.
well, I don't know if I really consider the build from Preston a poison package. Like it has the stuff, but
Let's
like
see, Brute Bonnet,
yeah, but you're
Petrarant,
choosing second. You're not
Perilous
playing 4 card.
Jungle,
There's no second squawk
Finding
ability.
Mochi.
We're
Does
not
Carmine
all
have the
in.
word poison on the card?
Dude, the poison package involves choosing first and turn 1 Petrolentine.
I didn't realize a
This deck ain't
package
doing that.
included gameplay decisions.
It does sometimes. It depends on who you ask, and it depends on what the write-up is, but I got the notes on it. Yeah, that's what it involves.
So
But
2
yeah,
poison
like
package Archaludon in the top 16.
yeah, Isaiah was definitely playing the poison package, for sure. And yeah, it did perform a little bit better. I mean, if both those players just didn't show up to the tournament and Jack lost another round, I would have won this prediction. But or we both I guess I would have won the prediction, I guess, because I still wasn't a Roaring Moon. Was there even a Roaring Moon in day 2?
Let's see.
I forgot that I guessed Roaring Moon over.
There were 3 Roaring Moon in day 2. The highest placing one, though, 154th.
They play the poison package.
I mean, is there another way to play it, really?
I don't think so. I would be that'd be interesting though. Actually, if they weren't playing the poison package, it would make things more interesting for sure.
Shout outs to Tyler here in the day 2 finish. He's a North Carolina local to me. Um, but yeah, those were the results from Atlanta. Any closing thoughts on Atlanta before we move on to some of the new Team Rocket cards?
Not really. I'm just kind of excited for. I'm just like the few. I mean, this was like a really big, a really cool, nice indication of like everything to come. I feel like Atlanta was huge. Irma was huge. I didn't actually know what the official stream numbers were, but like I said, like my streams are obviously doing pretty well. Some of the most viewers I've ever had during a stream. So, just excited for the future of the competitive Pokemon TCG. I feel like there's a what's it called? The Atlanta like showcase. A lot. It showed a lot of what the future holds. That's what I'm going with
Yeah,
that.
dude. Yeah. All right, well, let's take a look at some of these brand new Team Rocket cards. We're gonna use Noah's translation over here on Twitter. Shout outs to Noah. And yeah, there's some pretty interesting things here. So I think now the full Team Rocket set has been revealed. We kind of know everything there is to work with. And these are some pretty big last reveals, I would say here. So first up is the Team Rocket's Watchtower, which says colorless Pokemon in play have no abilities.
Yeah. So this is gonna be a pretty big one for. Initially, when I read this card, I didn't think through everything this thing shuts down. And one of my predictions, maybe a little bit less so, but maybe a little bit more. Colorless Pokemon generally are support Pokemon, right? We see a lot of support colors: B-Barrel, Pidgeot, Dunsparce, you name it. They're supporting your squad somehow. So I think I think this maybe is not purely built for the future, but I think this will interact with some colorless Pokemon in the future for sure. But this shuts down quite a bit right now. It shut down Fanrodom, Noctowl, Ursaluna, Dunsparce, Pidgeot. I'm missing a couple there, but those are some big ones. And almost like the biggest one to me, actually, to be honest, is Ursaluna. Being able to go throw this in play, Iono, and then if your opponent's win condition is Ursaluna on their next turn, it's going to be that much harder to be able to pull it off.
You forgot about the real biggest one.
Oh yeah, of course, Slacking EN.
Slacking's time, boys. Let's get it.
I think this
No.
Pokemon is already active. Slacking will be aight. He's still bad.
But yeah, this card is pretty interesting. So it reminds me a lot of Battle Frontier, which was a big card back in like 2005, 2006. It was similar. It said each player's evolved colorless darkness type and metal Pokemon can't use any Poke Powers or Poke Bodies, which were abilities at the time. We didn't have abilities, but those became abilities, so on and so forth. Basically, did the same thing. This did cover more, right? Darkness type, metal types, but it hit all of the big decks in the format. And it really got to a point where in 2006, you were either playing a deck that was hurt really bad by Battle Frontier or you were playing Battle Frontier. It was like there was no in between. It was one of those two things. I don't think that this card is quite that strong, right? It doesn't cover as many bases.
It's not.
Um,
It's no Path to the Peak. I think it'll
right.
be. It'll have to be a little bit played a little bit more strategically in certain decks. You're not just gonna be like, well, I'm a 4 path deck. All right, path. Like,
Yeah.
but like I said, like I think one of the big things for one of the big plays I can think of right now. Obviously, if you open it turn 1 against a Fan Rotom deck, that feels pretty good. If you have it turn 2 before they get to their Noctowls, that's pretty good. But I think shutting down the late game Ursaluna plays is the most exciting thing for me to see that kind of gameplay is like how you can shut down Ursaluna in the late game.
It would be interesting if this also included darkness type Pokemon and shut off Pheasantipity. You colorless darkness type metal type for the other card, right?
Why are you coming after Matang like that, bro? Like, what did he do to
Dang.
you? Steven's Metagross and Matang didn't do anything to you, bro. Leave him alone. The Pheasantipity shutdown would honestly that would be interesting.
This card that would make this card pretty good in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
As it stands right now, yeah, I feel like it's like a a card that some decks would maybe play 1 or 2 of for specific situations, like in specific metas as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, I could see in specific metas there could be a deck that plays 4 of these for sure. You know, heavy Noctowl formats.
I guess so,
Pidgeot
yeah.
could. I think where any set from now could lead to a meta where Pidgeot EX is in a lot of decks, right? So and we're not far from this being super powerful because Pidgeot's super popular because the card is so good, right?
Next up, we got the Rockets Factory. Once during each player's turn, if they played a Team Rockets supporter from their hand, they may draw 2 cards. I did not see nearly as many people talking about this card as like some of these other cards we're going to talk about. This card seems insane to me, to be honest.
Yeah, this card is actually absurd. Also, the way it is worded, can you like activate this at any point?
The way it's worded, it seems like.
Yeah, that
Well, the
doesn't
way
add that
the way
much.
that Noah translated it here,
Yeah, are you
at
gonna check a
least. Poke Beach.
Book Beach say different? Even
Or
if it doesn't change that much, but this would allow you to like. So for anyone who isn't familiar with some of the Rocket supporters, there's like a Rocket supporter that says drop till you have 5 cards in hand. But if all your Pokemon and play are Rockets Pokemon, draw until you have 8. So you could draw until you have 8, play a Poffin, play an Ultra Ball, play a Nest Ball, thin all these cards out of your deck potentially, and then draw 2 at the stadium. So that's even like an added um when
uh,
that player plays a supporter. Okay. This
that's
makes
what
more sense
yeah,
because
yeah.
this is way more balanced because this card is already broken. I don't think it needs the bonus effect of you can draw cards for turn, then mess with your deck, and then draw more cards. I don't think we need that effect. So
That
hopefully
would be
this is
kind
the
of an
correct
annoying
translation.
thing to, like, keep track of as well, like, have I used my Rockets Factory yet?
That's like Pokestop, right? Just tap the Pokestop like people do or put a coin on
I
it.
guess so, but it's, like, it's different whenever it's, like, got an activator behind it as opposed to something you can just do
That's
literally at
true.
any point, right?
Yeah, yeah. One more thing to keep. But yeah, I think this like the Rockets supporter engine was already discussed. This card is insane, man. I don't know. This card is disgusting.
You get to play Guzma and then draw 2 cards.
Yeah, like, that's insane. This is absurd. This card is actually ridiculous. Um, but I'm excited for it. Like, cool new cards, cool new good cards. Hopefully, it doesn't lead to anything oppressive where it's like 40% of the meta is Rocket's Mewtwo decks. Like, that would be bad, obviously. But I think I made a tweet kind of like this last week. I think the game designers have been doing really good for a really long time now. So I'm just, trusting the process at this point. And I'm not worrying too much about what ifs at all costs.
We've got Team Rockets Chingling here with the free attack Chime. Discard a random card from your opponent's hand.
Yeah, I mean that'll is this the most efficient way to go Iono to one discard a card from their hand?
It's gotta be. I mean, I'm sure there's some other Pokemon that has an attack that discards a card from your opponent's hand, but nothing that does it for free with free retreat, right?
Yeah, so I mean it's just a pretty convenient way to lock your opponent's hand in the late game, counter catcher something up, put a gemstone on this bad boy, discard their only card in hand. I don't know, something like that. There's some possibilities here.
Here it is, buddy.
Yep.
Welcome back, hand control. We got Iono. We got the Gothitelle.
We've had this for a while. It's not popped up in anything yet, but yeah, Gothitelle, what is it? Its ability looks at the top two, one on top, one on bottom of your opponent's deck.
Yep.
Yep. There it is. Not as good as Chip Chip Ice Axe for
Nowhere
sure.
near. Yeah.
Yeah, looking at 3 and then being able to rearrange them was definitely way better. But this is something. You could also set up multiple of these. You could look at 2 of them. If they're both good cards, one on bottom, one on top, look again, dig for a bad card.
You get to
And
see
then
3 cards deep at least.
yeah, honestly, just thinking about that combination in general. I mean, obviously, like any amount of draw power throws this off, and that was one of the big things when Pidgeot Control was a deck. There was no draw power in the format, like none. It did
There's
not
no like
exist.
Orangaroo or
Yeah,
Octillery or Bibarel.
there
Like
was Pidgeot. Like, that's all you had to be playing Pidgeot with Airmail.
Yeah, Pidgeotto.
Oh, Pidgeotto with Airmail, not Pidgeot. You had to be playing Pidgeotto with Airmail, which is what the Pidgeotto control deck was. But you don't wanna put Pidgeotto in anything besides the control deck, so that was funny.
The worst type of control. Like some control is like fun and interactive and like you have to like you have counterplay and stuff, but the most toxic type of control, and there's really only been one time in the game where it's been super good, is hand lock control.
Yeah.
And yeah, delete your opponent's hand and then control their top deck. So I really hope that this does not actually lead to something like that being good. I don't think there's enough in the format for that to happen. Like This deck had a Rangaroo, one of the most broken cards of all time. Uh, and then the Chip Ice Axe, the power plant to shut stuff down too. But
The only thing this deck was missing was, like, being able to interact with your prize cards. That's, like, the only thing this deck was
yeah,
missing. There was no prize card interaction card, but it didn't care overall. Overall, it was still chilling.
yeah, I did lose a round at this tournament. Grant and I played the same 60. I lost a round at this tournament to prizing two custom catchers. Oh,
Mm.
unfortunate.
Never lucky.
And then the last big card, and I mean, this is a big one. Psyduck, a basic
Duck.
Pokemon with the ability Dampness. While this Pokemon is in play, all Pokemon lose their abilities, which knock themselves out. Of course, we have finally gotten the counter card we have been waiting for Fortress EX.
Yeah, obviously, this is a little bit more impactful against Dusknoir, but honestly, Dusknoir has not been, like, a super oppressive card. It was, like, more popular initially when it was coming out, but I feel like as the meta and formats have evolved, Dusknoir's really only played in Dragapult, but I feel like it is one of the big cards helping keep Dragapult on top. Like, I feel like Dragapult no Dusknoir is a lot easier for more decks to manage and keep up with, and actually be able to take advantage of their, like, prize leads. But a prize lead means very little against Dragapult Dusknoir specifically, or means way less. Like, yeah, like Dragapult no Dusknoir is a lot more honest of a deck. So, I mean, if this is what it takes to make things shake up a little bit, then I'm not against it. I don't really have a. I don't really hate these counter cards existing in the Pokemon TCG stuff like Drapion, Spiritomb, Kyurem. As long as the game is still fun and interesting to play, then I'm kind of all for it. I'm okay with it personally. So we'll see how things play out. We'll see if Dragapult's even good by the time this thing does get released. I guess we don't know for sure when we're getting this, right? We assume it's going to come out in Destined Rivals, but it could come out in the set that's between NAIC and Worlds as well.
Yeah, it's a gym promo, so it can be a little bit hit or miss. And I talked to Hexter about this a little bit since he lived in Japan. He kind of like was paying a little bit more attention to like when these cards kind of get placed into sets than I think most of us do. But like Fusion Strike, we got Cremomatic, but that was a gym promo, and we got that like basically right away. It came out
Yeah.
like almost at the same time in Japan as it did for us, and it was a gym promo. But
You know,
then
like,
they got Moonlit Hill, and then we didn't get
yeah.
it for like 6 months.
You mean
So
did we get Chromomatic like in the correct time lineup for formats, or we got it when they got it? Like,
I think both, right? Both would have to be true, right?
no, like, I'm saying, like, because we don't get the same cards when Japan does, but we play the same formats that we did. So, like, format-wise, we got it correct in the correct.
Yes.
Okay, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, so I guess we'll see with the Psyduck. Yeah, the Moonlit Hill we didn't get for a while, and I really hate that, especially, like, if it's not a playable card, sure, it still shouldn't happen, but stuff like Moonlit Hill, stuff like Cramomatic, stuff like Psyduck, if it's supposed to be played in a format and we are getting access to that format, we should have those cards. Like, there's no excuse. I just don't see an excuse. You'd have to tell me what the excuse is for me to believe it, because otherwise I don't believe there's an excuse. If we're supposed to have Psyduck with Destined Rivals to match up with when Japan has Psyduck, then we should have Psyduck. Like, this is a very impactful card. This is supposed to be played in the game at this time. If we don't have the Psyduck, that's just it's inexcusable from TPCI.
All I'm saying is people really need to make sure they pick up their Paradise Resorts now before they spike in price.
This is it. This is the moment they've been waiting for. This combination of cards. Oh my gosh, dude. What
Actually,
if
low
it?
key though, you might want this thing.
Well, yeah. If you would, I mean, what if you just want to play a counter stadium, but you don't want to play a stadium that does anything for your opponent, but you play Psyduck in your deck?
Well, but now it might do something for your opponent because what if they play Psyduck?
Oh my goodness, we can't trap their Psyduck in the active for a turn. He's mobile. He's on the move.
He's
Lock him.
no.
The duck's on the move. The duck's on the move.
Wait, how much retreat? Oh, okay, he does have one
Oh,
retreat.
he's on the move.
To make this stadium useless, they should have just given this guy 2 retreat.
Honestly, there's I would bet that they're gonna give every Psyduck moving forward 1 retreat cost on purpose, just for the possibility that this card ever gets used.
I don't think they want this card to be played. Like they made this card not good on purpose.
Dude, even the Psyduck in the picture, he's on the move, bro. Like, he is. Look at him.
You know,
He's
that's a
mobile.
thing that Psyduck has been in every single Worlds card.
Yeah.
He's always hiding in there somewhere. Psyduck and Pikachu, always a pair. It's
Yeah.
funny when you type in Paradise, you get these 2 World Championship cards and then this terrible stadium that people thought this card was going to be good, I remember when it came out.
Hey man, tanky Pikarom, right?
Nope, this was well before Pikarom, brother.
What do people think this is gonna be played in?
There was, like, Tapu Koko GX.
Hulu?
I think this came out before Bulu too.
What set was this from? I swear this was people were talking
Guardians
about this in
Rising
Pika.
is the 2nd Sun and Moon set.
Wait, didn't Guardians Rising have Tapu Lele EX?
Yes, yeah.
Which was legal with Pikarom at some point.
Well, yeah, but Pikarom came out, like, 2 years after Tapu Lele came out.
I feel like when Pikarom was getting got revealed, people were talking about this with
Maybe
Pikarom.
that's what I'm thinking
Yeah, I
of,
think that's what
yeah.
you're thinking of. There was some hype. It was yeah, obviously did not pan out, but Pikarom had
Alright.
enough HP.
Well, those are the new reveals, and, yeah, definitely some interesting stuff. I'm very excited for the Team Rocket set. I do think the Rocket stuff, I was not super high. I was pretty anti-Rocket whenever all we had was, like, the Mewtwo and the, uh,
Dude, all these
what's it called?
flip-floppers are coming
The
around,
Spidops.
bro.
But I said it at the time, bro. We gotta see the rest of the cards. I think it'll be fine. I don't think it's broken by any means, but I think it will be like I think it's got enough stuff. Like the support engine is just
Absurd.
too good to not like make it decent, right?
Yeah, they're gonna drag Mewtwo and Crobat along, like
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
they're gonna make it happen for sure.
All right. Well, that is the new cards, and now we can move on to guess that flavor text. But before we do, we got to take a quick moment to thank our amazing sponsor, Dragon Shield, for supporting us here on the Uncommon Energy podcast. Of course, Dragon Shield makes some of the best card gaming and tabletop gaming products on the market. Actually, that's one thing I did a lot this weekend. I got to cube 3 times, and that made me so happy. Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday night. So if you cubed with us on one of those nights, shout outs to you. I really appreciate you helping make it happen because you got to have 8 people get together to make it happen. And yes, I do store my cube in the Magic Carpet XL. I use the cube shells, all products that you can find on Dragon Shield's website. And then they do have a couple of brand new colors, the amber mats and the amethyst matte sleeves, a nice orange and purple. Shout outs to my Clemson Tigers, of course. But yeah, as always, if you want to support us and check out some great sleeves for any upcoming tournaments, be sure to check out Dragon Shield. You can click the link in our description. You can use that code UEPOD. That's UEPOD to get yourself 5% off your order. And it does help to support us here as well. I get a little email every single time someone orders using our code. I don't see like what they ordered, but I see like the our kickback and then also like how much they ordered. And dude, there was like 2 orders this week where there was one person spent like $150. One person spent like $300 using our code. They are stocked up for like the next 2 years on on sleeves, bro.
They're all prepped, ready to go. Yeah, shout out to Dragon Shield for sure. And with that said, Chip, up next, we got Guess That Flavor Text this week. I'm going to pick a card for you, read the flavor text, and then you're going to try and guess what Pokemon belongs to that card. If you get it right without using a single lifeline, you'll get 4 points. For each lifeline you do use, you'll get 1 less point. The lifelines are what set the card is from, what stage the card is, and then read an attack name. It's been a little while. That hasn't been a little while. You got a point recently.
I did.
Still got the lead by a little bit, 33 to 29. Are
4
you
points,
ready?
buddy.
Are you ready to not increase your lead this week?
We're widening the gap. Let's get it. Come on. Hit me with it.
Has the peculiar power of being able to see emotions such as joy and rage in the form of waves.
Well, it almost certainly has to be a psychic type. Joy and rage. So like contrasting emotions to see people's emotions. It has the peculiar power. Is that what it says?
Yes.
The peculiar power. So peculiar. I wonder if this is like a legendary Pokemon of some sorts, or some like. Hmm. Like, could this be like a Jirachi? I don't think most of Jirachi's flavor texts have something to do with like the freaking like granting a wish. Um, Let me have I'm gonna use some lifelines here. Let's see what set the card is from.
Is from huh. I did not.
Hmm.
Should I just read? I'm just gonna read this set. It is from Black and White promos.
Okay. Okay. Interesting.
I did not read that beforehand. I was just looking through cards, looking for an interesting
Yeah,
flavor text.
that's fine, honestly. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's
Well, no, I
that's a
feel like that's
hint.
bad. That's bad for me.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
there's not that. I assume there's not that many black and white promos.
There's like 100. There's like 100.
Okay, maybe this wasn't that bad then.
Um, but it does help a bit. I mean, a lot of promos are like EXs and stuff, and those don't have flavor text on them. So, let me get an attack name.
Run around.
Ooh, okay. Well, that doesn't necessarily. Maybe it doesn't have to be a psychic type. Run around. Well, it sounds like an evolving basic, like a Patrat or something like that. I don't feel like Patrat is sensing people's emotions though. But that sounds like a Patrat attack. You know what I mean? I'm gonna just assume this is a basic, so I don't think the last one is gonna help me. Let me have you read me the flavor text one more time.
It has the peculiar power of being able to see emotions such as joy and rage in the form of waves.
Oh, is it just Meloetta? It might just be Meloetta, actually. Uh, Run around though. I don't feel like does Meloetta have a run around attack? The other thing I was thinking of is like Victini. I feel like I can kind of picture like a promo Meloetta card. I know there's a black and white promo Mew. It has some sort of ability that lets you like look at your prize cards or something like that, I feel like. Um that I can like picture that card. Yeah, I mean, I think the waves. I mean, Meloetta is like a singing Pokemon, so like audio waves. It's like different than like emotional waves, I guess. But that's kind of what I'm thinking right now. Runaround does not really sound too much like a Meloetta attack. I am ahead 4 points. Let me just see what stage the card is. Just use all the lifelines.
It is a basic.
Okay. Yeah, I guess I'm just gonna lock in Meloetta here. I don't feel the most confident about it, but I can't really think of anything better right now. So let's go with it. Meloetta.
It is not Meloetta. I didn't want to give you. It seemed like you caught on. You go. We're getting somewhere with the attack name I gave you. I'm gonna give you the other attack name, and I'm curious what your thoughts are. The other attack is Hook.
Hook?
Hook.
Um, I mean, is a friggin' fish Pokemon? I don't know. I don't feel like Hook helps me that much.
Okay. I thought that would because like when I see the Pokemon and then I read Hook, it made me think of like a fighting Pokemon. And the
Oh,
answer is Riolu.
yeah, I was never getting that.
See how far we got to go down. Where is it at?
They make a lot of
I want.
Riolu cards. What did this card come in, I wonder?
I have no clue. I didn't recognize this one at all when I saw it too.
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever seen this card. Let's see. Riolu Black White 33. It is from Blister Pack. Next Destiny's Blister Pack.
There we go. That's it. Riolu with the runaround. All right, Chip. You did not get close this time, as I said you wouldn't. Yeah,
Wow.
I don't even know if I've ever seen that product before with the Riolu in there.
Unfortunate. I'll do better next time. I
See about
apologize, chat. I let you
that.
down.
All right, well, we got a major tournament coming up this weekend to talk about. Um, over in Monterrey. And I mean, what was I gonna say? I mean, what do you think? Dude, I'm literally choking out here.
What the format's going
Where
or
the format's going. I mean, first thing to talk about is Is Dragapult just the or what is the best deck? Is it Dragapult? I think the other
I
contender I think right now is Gardevoir.
Yeah, I mean, I think Dragapult is definitely the best deck, but I think the bigger question to ask is like, how does the format respond to Badoo? I think that's the bigger question to ask here,
Yeah.
because it does feel like Gardevoir and Dragapult have established themselves as like two of the strongest decks. Now, I don't think Gardevoir's play rate is going to pick up immediately in Monterrey.
Yeah, it might take a week. I wouldn't be
Um,
surprised if it was 10%, but I feel like maybe it'll be in the top 6 most popular if we're, like,
I feel
using
like
that
it
as a
would be hard
benchmark.
for someone to switch to Gardevoir, but I think if someone was thinking about playing Gardevoir or like on the fence about it, they now have a really good list to go with,
Yeah,
right? So I
yeah.
think Gardevoir is probably still going to have another good tournament. But yeah, I think the bigger question here is like, what does the format do to respond to Badoo? What decks can withstand Gardevoir and Dragapult specifically with Badoo,
I don't know,
and
I
stand
don't
up to them?
I feel like there's nothing I don't think there's anything I feel like there's nothing new, like, as far as that goes, like, I feel like we had like, all the decks were already dealing with Badoo or trying to deal with Badoo, right? Um, I don't feel like there's that much to change. The question is just, I think, more so matchup based, like, Dragapult is definitely the number 1 deck, in terms of popularity, and I think Gardevoir is solidly the number 2 in terms of although it might not be number 2 in terms of popularity, expected success. Like, so I think we know the 2 decks to look out for the most, even if Gardevoir is not gonna be the number 2 most popular. So the question is just like, how do you change your deck from there? I think we'll see more jamming towers in Golden Goes. Um, but I think every deck was already dealing with Badoo from last format. Going into this format, they've been dealing with Badoo. So I don't think Badoo is like a new. It's like being used more so in this format than or the evolution of this format hasn't led to more Badoo usage. And maybe a little bit more Badoo usage than there was last format, but like not to the point where decks weren't already like having to deal with it.
Sure. Yeah, maybe so. I mean, there's been a lot of discussion about it. It feels like this week for sure.
And it's interesting that that has
So
come
many
up where it's like
people, dude. It was like 2 weeks ago. I was like, dude, we have got to ban Pecharunt. It is like so, and then now we have got to ban Badoo, dude. It
Yeah,
just crazy.
it is interesting because there like when Badoo initially released, it was a little while ago. There was no talk of Badoo being banned. I feel like, or very little if it did exist. But now it seems to be a lot more widespread, where you got people talking about the idea of Badoo being too good. I think we just got to give some time for people to adjust and the meta to adjust. I think we're uh jumping the gun a little bit here for sure. I think we gotta chill out, let players adjust and figure out new stuff. I think maybe we're gonna see the meta start to get a little bit more aggressive, stuff like
I think we
just
might see some more Jacks and Brock scoutings make their way
yeah,
into decks, these kind of quote unquote weaker cards that just let you still do something while you're being item locked, right?
yeah, definitely. And I think there might be an opportunity for Iron Hands to start to make a resurgence. I think Iron Hands is pretty good against Dragapult and Gardevoir. It's all about finding the best way to play Iron Hands that you can consistently like utilize and set up under Badoo, of course.
Yeah, that Joltig deck has been picking up a little bit of steam, it seems like.
Yeah, definitely. But I think we could just like take a look down the meta share from Atlanta and just go deck by deck here, just like give some quick thoughts on each deck. I think Dragapult's the number 1 deck, but what is the best way to play it? I'm under the impression that the non-Dusknoir build has a lot harder time against Gardevoir, but the stats on labs say different, I believe. Um, and I think some of the players who played the non-Dusknoir build also believe differently as well.
So the
So
non-Dusknor build on labs is slightly favored.
n-
Let's wait, hold on. This is interesting. Is this messed up? How does this make any sense? Dragapult Dusknor against regular Dragapult, 38%. On this one, though, it says Dragapult versus Dragapult Dusknor, 51%?
where is the turn of the day 2
Oh,
filter? There you go.
56%. It's
Is
still
that
not
that is
even,
that
it's
is
not,
that's not 100%.
that's not 100%.
Oh wait, but no, but ties are ties removed? Is it like
How are they calculated?
Wins is it wins over matches? Would that make sense? Am I mathing right there?
I think that ties are calculated as like one third of a win, something like that.
Or someone in the comment section will tell us the actual math. I don't know.
That's like that
I
doesn't
might I
make
might
sense, right?
well, no, but if it is that if it's wins over matches, not wins, so like including tied. Well, no, that wouldn't. Yeah, because then it would hurt the win percentage, right? Because you would be wins over matches for both of them, but there's ties involved, so there's more like effective losses
I think
than.
there was a note
Um,
somewhere. Hang on. Let's go to like where was it? There was definitely a note somewhere when I was clicking around here on the matchups page that said something about how ties were calculated, but I guess maybe it was just only up initially. I don't remember. Okay.
all right.
I
Um,
don't know.
but yeah, I think that so I would be under the impression that Gardevoir is favored against non-Dusknoir Dragapult. And then is closer against Dusknoir Dragapult. So that would, I mean, with that in mind, it would seem like no Dusknoir Dragapult is not very good right now. But if I'm incorrect on that, which having played 0 games, take what I say with a grain of salt. Um, then they're both Blizzard Dragapult still seem pretty good overall, and I would probably give the edge actually to Dragapult no Dusknoir because I would understand. My understanding is that that one is favored up against Dragapult Dusknoir, but it might be pretty close to like 50-50 to begin with, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
actually kind of surprised to see that the data supports that Dragapult, like straight Dragapult, is better against the Dragapult Dusknoir build. Because like I would have expected Dragapult Dusknoir to be a little bit better because like having Dusknoir, I feel like lets you it just gives you more options, right? Like you can be aggressive if you wanted to. You can also come back a little bit more if you wanted to, right? You can control a lot more in my head at least. But I mean, I guess one thing to talk about with that is like a lot of really good players chose to play just straight Dragapult, no Dusknoir, and they had to have known that Dragapult Dusknoir was going to be a good deck. So they had to have known like that they wouldn't have played straight Pult if they didn't think they had a good enough time into Pult Nor, right?
yeah. Well, I think straight Pult, you're more consistent, right? You have just more space in the deck to just set up Dragapults, set up Dracloaks. And it's pretty easy to deal with Dusknoir pieces when you're slowing the game down with Badoo, right? Like you can initiate by KOing Duskull or counter catcher KOing Dusclops plus KO Duskull, stuff like that. So you're able to just like completely remove those threats off the board before they can be utilized. Whereas the other side of it, there's not as much to isolate. So you just kind of have to go through their Dragapults. And you have just like less cards in your deck to just set up Dracloaks and then get to Dragapults, right? You probably have less room for Jack and Brock Scouty and stuff like that. So I think that's probably where the edge comes from. And then you also have room for the Monkey Dory package as well, which is like really, really powerful in the mirror match. You have to pick up Dracloaks off the bench or just manipulate damage in a way that gets you knockouts. We there was a couple builds that made day two that were like decently high up there, like top 64, that were playing Dustnor and Monkey Dory. I don't know if
Yeah.
trying to fit everything makes sense, but that would be a step in potentially teching further for the mirror match, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know if we'll be able to find any just kind of clicking like that, but
Jose was one of them. If you can find Jose, who we saw on the winning in. There we go, against Jonathan, where they
yeah,
tied at the Monkey Dorian here alongside the Dustnor.
with the Crispin to find it out as well.
One to work with. That's actually something that was really interesting. Like you saw the Hedrick build, no energy acceleration, no energy retention, no Crispin, no EXP share. I was playing the unfair stamp, not the crystal. So was literally living off the manual attachments, and that was it, which is just kind of interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess like worst case scenario, you whiff your attachment, you whiff an attack, you didn't whiff any attack, you just get to go itchy pollen again.
Yeah, you just Badoo again. And the Turos is something interesting is there as well. Like we saw the list from was it how do you pronounce it? Karis?
Curious, yeah.
Yeah, Karis and Sebastian, double Turo, double Crispin. Like those are cards you can't really fit in the Dragapult build for sure. We didn't even see a lot of the other straight Pults playing these cards to begin with, though. Anyways, because if you look at like the build from Tanner and all the people who played that 60, there was no. I think they had EXP share, but no
Yeah,
no
no
Crispin.
Excel. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just interesting to see all the different ways that people are tackling this one. This one had more energy in there as well. The seventh, it's only one more extra energy in the seventh energy. I guess this is a build we maybe should have like referenced a little bit earlier as well. Like the luminous build here, triple luminous to be able to be the dark energy for the monkey dory, but then also still be an attachment for Dragon Ball. It does have to combine combo with a basic energy, but it's not that hard to like pull that off. And then when you compare it to the normal 3-3 that other Dragon Ball builds play, you actually have more outs with this build because the luminous can then combo with two fire or two psychic, giving you four outs. Whereas if you attach a fire, you can only combination with three psychics. So you actually have more outs to getting to an attack if
Sure.
you open
More
up with the
outs, less
luminous.
search.
Yeah. So it's just interesting that take
Definitely.
there.
Yeah. So, I mean, to be honest, I don't know which one,
Yeah, me either. I don't know for sure either. But
which one I would go with.
if you do know, then I think the information you work with is how good is your guardian matchup, how good is your mirror matchup. Those are the I mean, I think the number one thing becomes how good. I'm assuming the mirror match is at least 50-50, if not favored for non-Dustnor builds. So the question should be on which one has the better guardian matchup, I think, right now. And that might not apply, like you mentioned, that might not apply as much for Monterrey as tournaments moving forward. And into Monterrey, should you even switch your deck at this point just to have a better guardian matchup? Probably not. If you weren't playing like Jamming Tower and Golden Go, maybe play Jamming Tower, but I don't know if you should be like switching full archetypes to compensate for Guardy.
Yeah. Speaking of Golden Go, how do we feel about Golden Go moving forward? You got the straight Bodie Robinson build. You've got Grant Manley's Golden Go Dragapults. What are we liking?
I honestly don't. I'm not a big fan of an alternate attacker in Golden Go. I think I think either something like the straightforward build or a consistency partner that's not to Dunsparce. I expect that Dunsparce was not very successful at this tournament. I expect it to be down like 80% from here because it's just so bad. It's bad in Golden Go. It's bad in Guard 4. It's not a good card. I cannot wait for me to be proven right that this card is absolute garbage and no one actually ends up playing it as we move throughout this format. Down with the Dunsparce. Cut it from your deck. You're just literally wasting your time if you're trying to win tournaments. But yeah, I think it's a straightforward build or some kind of a draw partner. Revavroom and Zorak have both felt pretty decent to me. I like Zorak most, but um, I think those are the ways it goes. And the alternate attacker is just like super unnecessary right now. Maybe for this tournament, it would make like a little bit more sense. Like the threat of walls is a little bit higher and cornerstone, but like a single golden go plus iron bundle is like enough to deal with like the solo stone tech that people had been running. So I think the biggest thing for Golden Go is to play a jamming tower, to be honest, moving forward. Um, and probably not include an alternate attacker. Although I could see an argument to go with like a 1/1 Caesar, so you can play like a one prize deck. If you play Baby Golden Go and Caesar, you can like you can like throw three one prizes at them. Whether they get the first one prize knockout with like a fan on a Gimme Ghoul or something like that, you can go like 1/1/1. And in that style of build, I think I would also play towards a second Iono to be a little bit more disruptive, so they can't
You
just
can
mess around it
kind
and
of
see
do that with
silly.
this one if you had to with like Monkey
It's so
Dory. It's like
yeah,
it's worse, obviously, but
it's a
like
lot harder.
he can get in the mix.
I mean, with this build with super odd double smash hitter, you could triple baby golden go. It's just not as good as like having an actual heavy hitter like a Caesar. So like
And then
getting
you
a
do
1/1
lose
Caesar
out on
involved.
some of your draw power by giving up a Golden Go
Yeah,
EX to a baby Golden Go.
exactly. Yeah, for sure. So I think the biggest thing is just to have that jamming tower for the Guardian matchup. Cut down like a potential Drifloon one hit or Screamtail one hit.
So we did see a bit from Raging Bolt. One thing we didn't talk about: James Kowalski, All Out Blitzel,
Dude, such
moved
a
away from
disappointment.
control. Dude, I went back whenever we were backstage and I didn't know what the stream matchup was until I was like standing backstage and I saw their faces and I saw the deck. I was like, dude, what the heck? Like, I was so surprised this is what he was playing. I immediately on my phone opened up your stream because I just could not wait to see your reaction, and you did not disappoint. You did not disappoint. It's
Insanely
just
disappointed, bro.
such a 180 from
Yeah.
what you would think from All Out Blitzel, right?
Yep. Yeah, such a disappointment, I'm not gonna lie. But it is cool to see him shake things up when he feels like control is not quite there. Although, did you see the back and forth between him and Cremasoli on Twitter?
I did, yeah.
That was pretty funny. I'm not gonna lie. So Cremasoli calling him out, saying, "Nah, control's fine right now, bro. What are you talking about? What's
Mhm.
happening?" Um,
Cremascoli
so
was just like, "You don't believe."
yeah. So Raging Bolt, I don't know. I'm still not a big fan of the Noctowl build. I like the things that Blitzel specifically did in the build because after playing with the deck and playing against the deck crumbles to Iono super hard. Like the Noctowl build specifically, I feel like the non-Noctowl build, you thin out your deck and build up so much more energy in play that you're way more resilient to getting Ionoed, but stuff like the Ursaluna and the Mew, I think need to be like staples in this deck moving forward. If you're gonna stick with the Noctowls for whatever reason, I think you need to be playing something like the Ursaluna and the Mew in there to be able to be a little bit more resilient to Iono, because this deck just crumbles to Iono so consistently in the late game.
It is
Um,
cool that like Noctowl, like adding Noctowl to any deck does add like a layer of depth to it, right? Like Raging
yeah.
Bolt is like just kind of the straightforward, like I punch your active deck, right? And Noctowl just like does create more kind of options. Um Also like you can do like single prize board states as well, kind of
Yep,
similar to like what made Charizard so good for so long was being able to have those single prize board states. Most of Bolt's single prize board states it feels like come in the early game as opposed to the late game,
yeah.
right? Whereas Charizard would do it in the late game, which is what made it good. Um but yeah, I mean, I think that I'm not quite as down on this deck as you are. Big surprise. I've always had a soft spot for the Raging Bolts, but um yeah, I mean, I definitely don't think we're going to be seeing super crazy results from it anytime soon, but it doesn't seem nearly as bad as I think you think it is.
Yeah, I guess, like, the one thing to, like, expand on that a little bit, it feels like this build of Raging Bolt I actually really enjoy playing Noctowl Raging Bolt, it's a fun deck to play. The first 2 to 3 turns, you can do a lot of cool plays, but it feels like the deck is, like, trying to be a Gardevoir or a Dragapult and have that depth to it, but at that point, just play Dragapult or Gardevoir. Like, take advantage of what Raging Bolt can do with its aggression, choose second, get a turn 1 KO, snowball the lead. I feel like and then, like, you build your board state out into a point where your opponent can't make a comeback with through Iono. I feel like this deck is just, trying to be some kind of more in-depth deck when you go to the Noctowl build, and it's like you're not taking advantage of what is possible with the Raging Bolt cards available to you.
Were
So,
any of
that's
these
kinda my
pe-
biggest thing.
were any of these people playing non-Noctowl builds?
I looked through a couple of them, I didn't see any. I don't think there was. I think all the ones in day 2 were Noctowl.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of Noctowl.
Owls are everywhere.
All right, well, let's talk about the next deck here, Terrapagos. So yeah, Keaton Gill's list does seem really cool. You got that 101 Pidgeot, the Volcanion to play around the Pheasantipity to reach for bigger numbers. It kind of like the Volcanion kind of acts like what the Poison Terrapagos deck let you do, right? Like get a little bit further
Yeah.
without having to play 15 cards, right? But then I also like Hunter Smith's build here with the top 16.
And this is like
Um,
I would say this is like the go-to way that people have been playing the deck. I feel like Luke Morsa is the big pioneer behind like this style of build. Um, and I think that's where I think Hunter even gave him
He
props
did,
in
yeah.
his interview as well. So, and I actually really like this deck as well. I've been playing a lot of it. The one thing I haven't fully figured out is which A spec I like best. You see the Prime Catcher here. I tried Unfair Stamp, and Unfair Stamp felt pretty good. I also was playing Unfair Stamp in my Raging Bolt Noctowl, and that also felt pretty good. Like Unfair Stamp in these Noctowl decks just feels so good, but I don't think you can go wrong with the Prime Catcher for sure. And I think this deck is still pretty solid.
Yeah.
Um, but the thing is, the problem with this deck actually, to be honest, the Guardy matchup is bad. Like the
Oh,
Guardy matchup
dude,
for this deck is
you got to try this list.
the
It's got your
Genesect.
two favorite
Yeah, it's got
cards.
Trolley, Genesect. Oh yeah, I looked at this list earlier on stream. This list is pretty sick. Trolley is um Soda in my chat has been pushing the trolley propaganda, and honestly, since he started mentioning it, whenever I was playing with this deck, there's definitely situations that come up where you're like, man, I wish I could just like find 3 basic Pokemon to use with Area Zero turn 2. You don't do a turn 1, you go turn 2, Noctowl to get Trolley Area Zero to like like fill out your bench with all the good Pokemon you want. Um, so it's definitely come up. I think the Trolley is also another aspect that seems decent in here for sure.
What do you think about the ADHP Hoot Hoot in the decks that don't play Poffin?
I th well, I think there should be, like, a split probably. Like, you still sometimes open hood and just wanna be able to retreat it for 1 energy. You don't always wanna have to go search out Latias or do something weird like Penny or Turo it, and there's a Penny and a Turo in this build, but I don't think there should ever be just ADHPs. It should always be a split of some sort, and it does come down to, like, your Poffin count. Like, I think, in my Raging Bolt list, I ended with 3 ADHP Hoodoos, but it should be like a 2-1. In my build of this, I ended with a 3-1, 1 ADHP, 3 non-ADHPs with, like, 1 Poffin in the build,
I mean,
so
I guess like the thing here is like uh you can always leave it active turn. I mean, you kind of want to leave a one prizer active turn one most of the time anyway, right? And then
depends, yeah.
you can evolve to Noctowl and then retreat it, right?
Yeah. You could. That's definitely true. That is like a possibility. Uh, but yeah, it kind of depends on the yeah if
Like
you
I
play
w
Poffin or not for sure. But I think even if you play Poffin, you should be playing some count of 80s. The 80s are just good. Like the playing around Dragapult Halucha is comes up all the time.
yeah. Yeah.
Like in this build specifically, I would personally put an 80 as one of my hoot hoots. Um, to be able to play around the Halucha from Dragapult at some point in the mid game.
I feel like Iono is becoming a very, very I mean, it's always been a big card in the format, right? But like it almost feels more prevalent right now, being able to have something that can withstand a late game Iono. Because that's like
Yeah.
it feels like Dragapult and Gardevoir, they gain so much power from Iono late into like creating this powerful board state, right?
I don't know, and
Um,
then don't draw prize cards, right? They're
yes, yeah.
yeah.
Cut you off with the Fez. And so I think that's where something like having Pidgeot in your deck helps so much. And that's what Keaton has done here. So yeah, this build seems cool for sure.
Yeah, and that's why I could like see an argument to play a draw engine in Golden Go. That being the best way to play Golden Go is to have some kind of draw engine in there.
The one
Uh,
lightning is kind of interesting.
so yeah, I mean you want the lightning in there because it's nice to have a third energy type in your deck, so Crispin is more consistently accessible. And then Lavencia is like the stadium that you
Mm,
could possibly take advantage of.
I guess it
Um,
makes sense that that
yeah,
is the third type that you would play. Like if you're playing two of this energy, you could play like two fire, so you could
yeah.
attack with a Volcanion, I guess, which doesn't seem very good, but you could do. I mean, actually, low key, the Golden Go matchup, smack them,
Hey,
one hit KO, easy buckets. Doesn't matter how big your bench is.
that's true. We got him.
But yeah, okay. I didn't think about. I was thinking when I was looking at this list, like, what is there? Why is it the lightning? I mean, obviously, yeah, Lavencia. That makes perfect
Yeah.
sense because there was a lot of the Golden Goes. It seems like in day one at least, I saw a lot of Lavencias walking around. But
I mean, if you go to Golden Go, I think the third highest place in Golden Go, yeah, Caleb there did have a Lavencia in here, just one of played 12. Basics had the Leafeon and the Zoroarks.
oh, this guy,
Leafeon, yeah. So it's just like this is just a walls counter here. Gets through cornerstones. I mean, if you set it up, the Moss
a
Agate
gate.
Gate,
Oh, maybe
um,
agate. Yeah.
Moss Agate is pretty good against Dragapult, probably, right? But that's, yeah, I don't know how you're attaching to Leafeon 3 times. That seems overcooked. But yeah, so it really is just a walls counter more so than anything. Um,
And then Terrabox. How do you feel about Terrabox? I mean, it didn't do super well.
yep.
It's I mean, it does feel like I don't know. I feel like one of the reasons people liked it is because it can be aggressive with the Wellspring Mask, and then the two biggest decks right now are pretty susceptible to Wellspring Mask. So why is it not doing better?
Well, so that is true, but I feel like Dragapult. So at Champions League, where this deck popped up and kind of popped up out of nowhere and was super successful, and like I said earlier, I think I said it earlier, but I've said it before. This deck is a product of the meta. It is not the meta. So it is good because of what else is good, right? Dragapult's just always good, but and
Oh my gosh.
Dragapult doesn't. Dragapult doesn't really need other stuff to be good for Dragapult to be good, right? Although it doesn't mind it when people continue to play Charizard. Um, but Terrabox needs Dragapult to be popular. It needs Gardevoir to be popular. But also, apparently, the Dragapult matchup's not that bad once you include Unfair Stamp, which is the adjustment we saw post Champions League. Is every Dragapult player added Unfair Stamp because it's really, really good in the Terrabox matchup. They pull off their Ogerpon play and then you shut them down and hit them with Badoo and then kind of reset up from there. So
Dude, this is just proof of player diff right here. Day one, Dragapult, 47%, like basically 50-50, right? Turn on that day two filter, 25%.
now, the sample size is a lot smaller, but yeah, I think that that percentage still probably holds true, even if you increase the match size a little bit more. So yeah, I think Terrabox is in a pretty bad spot. Going into the tournament, I had very little experience with the deck, and based on how people had rated it and what I'd seen from it, it seemed pretty good. So I rated it pretty highly. But you got the I feel like Golden Go decks are being built more consistently with Double Team Evo. You got the Unfair Stamp and Dragapult. You've got Raging Bolt, which never seemed like a really great matchup. It seemed like a fine matchup. And then you have Tank Terrapagos is also a big hit. 10% of the meta is just a bad matchup,
Yeah.
right? Tank Terrapagos wasn't really a deck at Champions League, as far as I could tell. Now all of a sudden there's a 10% bad matchup in the room. Everyone's more aware of the deck. I think Terrorbox, before we even get Shaman, is on its way out. I don't see it recovering. Also, our Chaladon, I think, wasn't that popular at Champions League. That's another deck that's being like added into the meta. The evolution of the meta is makes the meta no longer good for Terrorbox. I think Terrorbox is a pretty poor play right now. I could see it coming back before Shaman comes into the meta. And even post Shaman, if people aren't playing Shaman, I could see it making a return as well. But right now, it's not great. I expect it to be pretty unsuccessful at Monterrey, and then I expect it to be pretty successful at the next weekend after that with a special event in Spain. Maybe after that, we could start to see some things change. Maybe Dragapults all of a sudden are like, we don't need Unfair Stamp anymore. I'm going to play the Crystal now because Terrorbox is nowhere to be seen. And that's the matchup I want that Unfair Stamp for. So we'll see how things adjust. It'll definitely be interesting. But for right now, I think it's on the way out.
Speaking of the Archaladon, how do we feel about that moving forward? Is the poison package just the best way for this deck to exist, whether you like it or not?
I think definitely could be. Yeah, I also just don't think Archaladon's that great right now. But I do, yeah, the poison package should definitely be the way to go for sure, for sure. That wouldn't be a shock to me, the poison package. I still haven't invested a ton of time. I really like the Zorak build personally. From what I've played with Archaladon builds, haven't really invested any time into like the double build. Definitely not going to touch the Dunsparce build at this point. I'm done. I played one deck with the Dunsparce, played some Golden with the Dunsparce. It's whatever. But yeah, the Dunsparce is not it.
This
Um,
is pretty interesting here with the double in. Is this how people do it with the Zork? I haven't. Is it double ins castle just so you can have you can get him out of the active?
I didn't play. I played in my build specifically. I just played a rescue board, and then had two Turos, and that felt like more than enough to move my Zorks around. But the having an end castle or two, like a little bit more of aggressive of a way to move it around, doesn't seem like a bad inclusion for sure.
This build seems pretty interesting to be honest. Lost to Michael Davidson, lost to the mirror, Tidapult,
Yeah,
Tida, what's it called? Terapagos.
yeah. One thing,
Um,
I guess, but we didn't mention this about Golden Go. I guess things could get more hostile for Golden Go. To be honest, we did see the Genesex in the non-Dustnor builds, and we even saw you saw that you pulled up that build of our child on there from Dante. Dante had the Toad Scroll in there.
yeah, yeah, we saw that
Was
on stream,
not
I think.
Yeah, was not able to use it against Bodhi. Bodhi pretty comfortably won that match, but I mean that's something we could see pop up a little bit more, especially if people are copying the Hedrick build, triple Night Stretcher, shutting those down against Dragapult does not sound like a bad thing to shut down.
It
So
also seems pretty good against Gardevoir, to be honest. Like,
yeah, I mean, what was the count for?
I think it's triple stretcher for Henry.
Yeah, I can't think of what else you would play. Um, Coach Roll in
A
besides our
double.
Chaladon. But yeah, Coach Roll in general seems pretty decent right now. Golden Go, all these Night Stretchers. Best partner to put it with, it might just be our Chaladon. If you're maybe it could be something like the Dragapult deck, but I feel like Genesect is just like the better ad there at that point, just to like help your Golden Go matchup, including the whole Toad Scroll thing seems kind
Toad
of
Scroll
iffy.
shuts your ability down to recover stuff too, right?
Oh, it does, doesn't it? Yeah, I
Yeah.
wasn't even thinking about that
So that kind of makes it awkward even in our Chaladon, to be honest.
because it
But
shuts down your Night Stretchers. Yeah, that is true, man. Maybe there's a better partner for it out there. There might be something better. Yeah, in my head, I was thinking it only shut down your opponents, but you're right.
maybe you just have to play like if you're playing Toad Scroll or Chaladon, you got to play like a couple super rods instead of four night stretchers. You know,
Yeah, you have to shake it up. I mean, maybe yeah, go with like the 4-hour child on heavier basic energy counts, stuff like that.
I could see it for sure.
Yeah, Toad Scroll could be a consideration if you can find the right partner for it, for sure.
All right. Well, I mean, those I think are the biggest decks. We spent some time talking about Gardevoir already. Do you want to
Yep.
mention any of these other ones down here?
I
The
think I would just say
Flareon.
I just give Flareon a shout. The deck seems really cool. Team seems to have a decent amount of depth to it and matchup spread, especially matchup spread wise. But besides that, I could see Enzork. I could see the meta shifting towards a spot where Enzork feels a little bit more comfortable to play. Maybe Hopzation, but probably not Hopzation because your Gardevoir matchup is pretty terrible. And that's like my problem with the Tank Terrapagos deck as well. Your Gardevoir matchup is pretty rough. But Enzork, I could see the meta getting better for it. I have to like think about it a little bit harder, but as far as your Dragapult and Guardian matchup both feel pretty solid for the deck, so that's where I'm kind of at with it.
We did avoid having to say ins PP up on the stream all weekend, but I don't think we're gonna be able to avoid it forever.
I guess what would you even
Dude. We got to say the name of the card, bro.
ends PP up? All right, We'll be waiting for that chip. I'll be rooting for Enzor to make his way on stream.
All right. Well, let's make a couple predictions for this coming weekend in Monterrey. First up, pick a non-Dragapult or Gardevoir deck to make top cut. So, of the other decks we've talked about, what's most likely to make its way in there?
um, I think Golden Go is probably most likely, but I could see it not getting there. I'm gonna go with Enzorark. I'm gonna go with an Enzorark deck,
Ooh, spicy
I
pick.
believe.
I'm gonna go with Archaladon. I'm fully
Cringe,
embracing the poison package here.
cringe pick, cringe pick.
All right, next up, pick a player to make cut. This has kind of become one of our go-tos. We may just like literally do this prediction for every tournament. It's kind of fun. Pick a player to make cut. Who you got, Azul?
So I'm not sure. I don't believe. Yeah, I don't know for sure if they'll be there or not, but this is actually something cool that we get to see is like we get to see what not what each region but like what each region has like developed so far as far as the player base goes. So we could see some more like interesting cool decks and some of the biggest innovators I feel like over the last 2 years has been Petrucci and Azevedo and their crew. Petrucci was at Merida. Azevedo was not. So I'm gonna go with Pedro Petrucci, and hope he
Mm,
shows up to this one. I'm not sure if 100% sure he's gonna show up to this one, but or that he's gonna be here. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Pedro Petrucci. I feel
it's
like
in,
they've been a little bit they haven't had as much innovation lately, but I'm hoping to see something cool from them potentially.
it's interesting you went that route and pulled a player from South America because I'm doing the same thing, and I'm going with Fabrizio Inga Silva to make top cut.
I think it's a pretty good bet that he's gonna be there. But he's a grinder. He apparently won the league challenge the day before at Atlanta. He won the Friday league challenge or something. That's what someone in my chat said that he was playing
No,
in
the guy
that.
who won the Friday League Challenge tweeted his picture at the stream.
Oh wait, really? Dude, someone just
Yeah,
lied in my chat? That's crazy.
I don't think for. I mean, Fabrizio could have been in there, but
Dude, what the heck, dude? I gotta stop believing chat, man. That's it.
baited. All right, and then last prediction. We're not going to have like a top six graphic like we normally do because it's not an official broadcast or anything. But we'll get this Limitless Labs data. Shout outs once again, Robin. Pick the sixth most popular day one deck, Azul.
Okay, and I gotta go to the labs for a second here to look at what the whole breakdown was.
And we're going to go variant grouping on for this.
Yeah, for day one, right?
Yeah, for day one.
So it'll be Dragon Ball, Golden Go, Raging Bolt, 4, 5. I'm going Archaladon. Ter-
The deck that was literally number six this weekend.
yeah, I guess, yeah. I'm thinking Terrabox out, Gardevoir over Archaladon, so Archaladon maintains sixth.
I'm going to go
Sixth place.
Gardevoir.
Okay. All right.
I don't think Gardevoir quite breaks past it just yet. I think we're going to get to a point where Gardevoir is like number three, probably
Yeah.
by what is it,
A week
Seville?
after. Yeah.
Seville. Yeah, I think Gardevoir will be number three by then.
Yeah. I think it's pretty actually, honestly, I would assume it's probably gonna be number 2. I guess Golden
I
Go
can see
could
it too.
maintain,
Yeah.
but yeah. All right.
All
Sounds
right.
good, Chip.
Well, there we go. Those are our predictions. You got anything else you want to say, Azul, before we get out of here and we get into our exclusive bonus episode?
No, send us out.
Thanks a bunch to everyone for listening. As always, if you did enjoy, be sure to leave us a like, a review, a rating, comment, or subscribe, and help to support what we're doing over here. Help more people to discover the podcast as well. And if you want to stay up to date with what we got going on, the best place to do it is over on Twitter. You can follow myself at Chip Ritchie, Azul at Azul_GG, and you can also follow the podcast at Uncommon_Energy. Appreciate
Oh,
the
yeah.
support. Is
Yeah, thanks for the
you got a
support.
little
I
thing
was,
you
like,
normally
waiting
say?
dude, I was literally waiting for you to introduce us into the bonus episode. But yeah, thanks for the support as always. We'll catch y'all next week. Good luck to everyone, specifically Pedro, uh, if he's playing at Monterrey this weekend, and we'll catch y'all again next Wednesday, 7 a.m. Eastern.